Okay, think we're live on YouTube. Let me just get the TikTok live going and we'll get started. And actually, let me announce this on my Discord. Okay. Okay. I think the multi-chat is set up. We'll see in a second. But if you're hopping on right now, make sure you guys start double tapping the screen. I'm not going to be live for too long right now because I do have to leave in a bit, but figured I'd hop on for maybe like an hour, a little under an hour, and see if we can get some quick debates done. Maybe we can get some debates. Because I've noticed there's more people out there now that are defending what happened to Renee Good. So all of a sudden, it's funny, the Trump supporters were in hiding for months and months and months, and then the Renee Good thing happened, and now all of a sudden they want to debate again, because for some reason this is the hill they want to die on. It's very interesting how that works. Don't really understand their logic there, but make sure you guys are double tapping the screen. Follow if you aren't already following. If you're watching on TikTok, you can also hop on over to YouTube if you want a better view over there. I am live on YouTube as well. Let's see. If we don't get any debates, maybe I can cover some news. But I don't know what's new. It kind of feels like the world is on fire right now when you consider it's been less than a week, I think, and we've invaded Venezuela and ICE has killed someone. I mean, the authoritarian creep is not really creep anymore. It's like an authoritarian sprint. Again, make sure you guys are double tapping the screen. We can only get debates going if people actually hop on and hop into the requests. Hold on. I do want to cover maybe the recent... Apparently Trump wants to wage war on Greenland. I don't know where this is coming from, but okay. And hold on. Let's stop and connect. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Make sure you guys are double tapping the screen, because again, I want to get some debates going. I'm only on here for maybe like a little under an hour. Yo, what's up to Simple Black Theory? I love your content, bro. Keep up the awesome work. Hold on. I'm trying to see if there's any like new news I can cover, because if we don't get any debates going, I want to make the most of like the next 45 minutes. Gotta collab. Definitely, for sure. Hit me up. We should definitely do something. And you're also free to hop on the live whenever. If we can get some debates going, hopefully. We'll see if we get anyone. It's hit or miss. But recently, they've become super bold. They're super happy for some reason about the shooting of Renee Good, which is... I don't understand. I feel like I'm actually losing my mind. Like, when you go on Twitter and you watch a video of what happened to Renee Good, and you're like, oh, this is like open and shut, like obvious, not self-defense, obviously not justified. He literally called her a fucking bitch, like, right after shooting her. That's not someone afraid for their life. I'm sorry. That's someone who's, like, vengeful and annoyed and upset. And I go to the comments, and it's, like, all... I don't know if they're bots or they're just crazy. It's all these people saying, that settles it. This is why we backed the blue. ICE never did anything wrong. And it's like, Did you watch the same video? Dude, JD Vance literally is shouting from the rooftops, make sure you watch the police officers or the ICE officers' body cam footage or what he recorded on his phone. That clears it all up. That's a bad look for him. Like, the footage recorded by the ICE officer makes it look worse for the ICE officer. But MAGA is, like, signal boosting it as if it's a good look for them. And now I'm like, this isn't even just like we live in a different information ecosystem. They're just delusional or something. They keep swallowing whatever Trump and Vance give them. It's a little bit unhinged. Took a break from media and it got so much worse. Yeah. I think I saw a great video about this that I might have reposted. These Trump psychos have really played their hand too soon. Like, the only saving grace that we have from like a complete full-fledged totalitarian state is that ultimately the final call is still Donald Trump's call, and Donald Trump is a very stupid person. He's not a sophisticated actor. Who can argue against anything in the prompt? No one. No one, which is why I assume there's no guest request, because nothing above me is debatable right now. You can debate it, but there's no like legitimate debate to have about it. It's pretty clear what this is. Hey, I'm turning 18 this year. Should I vote Democrat, Republican, and why? You should vote Democrat. You should and I have so many criticisms of Democrats, but man, the Republican Party has just become a fucking cult. There's like two normal, I guess like Thomas Massie and Rand Paul seem like relatively normal-ish people, but when I have to be cheering for Rand Paul, you know the Republican Party is cooked, because under any other circumstance, I'm not like a Rand Paul guy. Or when I'm saying, oh, I miss the days of Mitt Romney. Do you understand how bad things have to get to say anything positive about Mitt Romney? Oh, at least he doesn't openly call for people to be killed and arrested. What a nice man he is. Someone said I'm requesting. Okay. Hey, how old are you? And do you support Trump? Sure. Which one did you want to debate, or do you disagree with all of them? Like, there's no way you disagree that Trump is corrupt, right? That we agree on. I'm assuming, if you're like reasonable. But there's levels to this, right? Like, owning stocks when you're in Congress, I agree is bad and should be banned. Not exactly the same thing as like enriching your family to the tune of billions of dollars. Those are like, I'm not going to put those in the same category. Yeah, but if someone gave you a cup of water with some dirt in it, and then someone else gave you a cup of water full of diarrhea, would you say, these are both things I wouldn't want to drink? Or would you maybe think there's a significant distinction here that you should make clear?
No, they'd both be things I don't want to drink.
And there's no more detail needed for that.
I like clean cups of water. Yes.
Everyone likes clean cups of water, but can you not tell the difference between water with a couple specks of dirt and a pile of shit?
See, I don't see that view, that whole pile that you're talking about. Sorry, I don't use foul language, but
That's fine.
that whole pile that you're talking about,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that view in correlation with other politicians. I don't think any of these politicians
Sure.
are
So then let me just
spick and
ask you,
span.
can you give me other politicians that have engaged in corruption to the level of the second Trump administration specifically? Something on that level? Anyone?
Yeah, so if you believe the things that have been reported by the White House recently
I
about
don't
Barack
believe anything that
Obama.
comes from this White House. They lie.
Okay. Okay, it sounds like you have a bias,
Well,
and
no,
that's
they
okay.
have a bias, and when someone consistently makes their bias clear, I'm not going to say, "Oh yeah, that's a credible source right
Do
there."
you think other White House administrations have had a bias?
Sure, every administration has a bias, but again, you're ignoring severity. Do you understand like things exist on a gradient and on levels of severity? Like if I get a paper cut and my arm gets cut off, those are both injuries, but they probably belong in different categories of severity. So when you talk about, oh, everyone's corrupt or everyone's biased, there's a difference between political bias, which has always existed, and people that purposefully tell lies in bad faith, right? Like, for example, Donald Trump, when he says, I won the 2020 election, he knows he lost the 2020 election, but he intentionally lies. There's nothing to that scale that can be replicated by
Yeah,
anyone else.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree with that. Like I don't like that lie. He says that he won the
Yeah.
2020 election, and because I view this stuff without bias, I also don't like the lie that Biden was pushing that he was okay, that he was fine, and all that kind of stuff. I don't
Oh,
like
I agree,
lies,
but
and
I totally agree. But
when I
here's the
s-
difference, right? When Biden says, I'm a young buck and I'm super sharp, his party said, nah, bro, you gotta go. And when Trump does unhinged shit, his party
whoa,
doesn't say that to
really?
him.
Wait. You're saying that? when Biden was saying he was all right, his party was saying he wasn't.
I'm not sure if you paid attention to the news after the debate with Trump.
I
I mean, Pelosi and Obama basically pushed him out of the race.
No, okay, so after the debate with Trump, it was blaringly obvious,
Yes,
but
and
before that,
before that, a lot of
before
people were
that they
lying about
were
it.
yeah, so the entire Democratic Party was lying about it. Just like how when
Hold
I
on,
look at
no,
the
that's not
Republican
true.
Party,
That's not true. Hold
oh,
on.
who wasn't
Do you
lying about
think
it?
that like the Democrats before the debate that were saying Biden is fine, do you think that they knew very well and they were lying, or that they just haven't spent much time with Biden?
I could see with my own unbiased eyes that that man was not all right. And
But
every time
again,
I heard,
again, I feel like we're gonna keep coming back to like severity. I think everyone agreed Biden has slowed down and his ability to speak has seriously degraded. That is different than saying he literally is not able to like do a debate. Like during that debate, he malfunctioned, like his brain stopped working. That was a different level of severity than anything we had ever seen from Joe Biden, to the point where like even his own family was like, "What is this?" So again, you're going to
so
say, I always knew something was wrong. Something being wrong can mean he slipped over a word or he forgot how to speak.
yeah, so I don't like Trump finessing money for himself. I don't like him fronting like he won the 2020 election. And I keep the same energy in saying I don't like that Biden acted like he was okay. I don't
Here's where
like
we
that
disagree.
I oh, can I
Go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't like that he acted like he was okay. I don't like that he hid his sadly his cancer. I don't like that he hid that from everyone. And I also don't like that he
We don't know that he has
pardoned
cancer.
he did. There's I have the book on my shelf. Anyways, but
The book,
I don't
the Jake
like
Tapper book?
that and a couple others, yeah. But I don't like how he also pardoned like his entire
Okay,
family dang near.
fantastic
Like
example. Here's
there's a
the
lot of
issue that
weird
I
things that I
have.
don't like about
What
politicians.
you call unbiased, I call false equivalency, which is that you treat two things that are very different as if they are the same, so that you can give the impression that I'm not picking a side. Sometimes you should pick a side because both things are not the same severity, even if you think maybe they're in the same category, which I don't think they are. So you're saying, okay, why didn't the Democrats push out Biden before it became glaringly obvious that his cognitive decline was this bad? And what I would say is, even when Trump became glaringly obvious as an authoritarian and a liar, Republicans still didn't do anything. They supported him in the 2024 primary and the 2024 general election. So even if you want to argue Democrats should have pushed out Biden before the first debate ever happened, I happen to agree. I don't think Biden should have ever run for re-election. But that is a very different claim than the Republican Party, who even after January 6th, even after all the indictments, when it's glaringly obvious, like it was for Biden after the debate, they don't push Trump out. They couldn't push Trump out. Do you think if Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell, or now Mike Johnson and John Thune, called Donald Trump and said, hey, dude, resign, or like we're kicking you out of the party, do you think Trump would listen to them ever? Like Biden listened to the Democrats and his party?
Yeah, so Biden only acquiesced after he was
At
embarrassed
least he
and
acquiesced
he didn't
ever. This is
yeah,
the difference.
he was I honestly believe that if Trump faced some sort of public embarrassment to that degree, he would also
He's
have to
shameless.
rethink. Yeah, well, that's a
That's a
claim
character
without like
flaw.
we're both assuming, right?
No,
You're
no, no,
assuming
no.
that
Do you
in
not think that Trump? Okay, give me examples of Trump exhibiting like that he's sorry or that he has shame for his actions anywhere ever.
so so I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the
You
situation
just
that
said that I'm
Biden was
assuming
in.
that Trump is shameless and that that's just
As
like
in,
my opinion.
I said that you're assuming that if Trump was in the same cognitive decline,
He's in worse
because that
cognitive decline right now and no one seems to care. He's falling asleep in the middle of meetings. Now, I'm going to ask you before it becomes glaringly obvious, which I think it already is, are you going to call for Donald Trump to resign and step down? Is anyone in his cabinet going to say, oh, this guy is falling asleep in meetings? And then when we ask him, why are you sleeping? He's like, oh, I was just resting my eyes for 30 minutes.
so you for one, for one before I progress, I want you to
Hmm.
understand that my perspective on this stuff, like when people pick sides, I see this politics stuff as WWE. It's the same thing.
It's
Like
not
people
true.
get mad when you say that it's not they're not. It's two birds. I mean, it's two wings on the
Yeah,
same
but this
bird.
is like
But
a fake enlightened centrist thing where it's like, oh, I see through the
okay,
matrix, both parties are the same, and like I
okay,
figured it all out. Well, just to be clear, like when
okay.
Democrats are in power, more people get health insurance. When Republicans are in power, people lose health insurance. That's not just WWE. People are going bankrupt due to medical bills or dying because they can't get treatment. That's a relevant difference. It actually affects like whether someone's heart is beating or not. Maybe to you it's
Yeah.
WWE because you don't maybe need that help, which is great. I don't either. But to people that live on the margins of society, like who is president can uproot their entire life.
So you genuinely believe that one side is good and one side is evil?
No, I think one side is way better than the other side, and there's no such thing as perfect.
Okay. So I agree with you that when Democrats are in power, certain things are done. And when Republicans are in power, certain things are done. And I personally believe that the wings of this bird are put into power when certain things need to be done by people that are beyond our control.
The deep state?
So, no, 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 no,
Then
no, no,
who?
no. Essentially,
Like, do you think they're
the
picking who
banks.
wins presidential elections and they're picking what legislation is passed? This
No,
shadowing cabal?
not necessarily picking, because you saw with Trump's first
That's yeah, that's what I was
presidency
gonna ask about.
that, huh?
That's what I was gonna ask about. The powers that be did not want Trump to win in 2016. So
Yeah, so exactly. That's what I mean. And when Trump first got in, it was strange. It was weird for the banks and all that kind of stuff. And then in this administration, you see him being more classically what that wing is, which is another
there's nothing
flavor of what this
classic
government
about
is.
Trump. I mean, he's a pretty sharp authoritarian departure from the norms of the last couple decades.
So when you say authoritarian, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing that, like, of the three things, I mean, the one thing I don't agree with per se is the what's it, the claim that you said Trump is corrupt, because I think that's like almost saying like, it's like a non-statement. It's like, oh, the
It's a
president is
statement.
corrupt, imagine the president's corrupt, imagine.
Okay, I
But
asked
when
you then
you're
to give me an example of another president who used the office of the presidency to create like international business deals for his family that profit them billions of dollars. Give me any example from the
yeah,
entire 21st
so Joe
century.
Biden,
Bush
you know
Jr.,
about Joe
Obama,
Biden's son?
yes, Hunter Biden?
Did Biden finesse something for his son or no?
No, that's not true.
Wait, oh, okay, so his son
You're
had the
aware that Republicans
qualifications.
had 2 years under Biden to investigate this and come up with an indictment or an impeachment, and they came up empty handed. You understand that, right?
Okay, so the reason why Biden was pardoned was because
Are you talking about Burisma? Or are you talking about the gun charges? Or are you just alluding to some
I'm
vague
talking
Hunter is
about
corrupt thing without even knowing what you're specifically referring to?
no, I'm talking about his work in Ukraine.
That's
I mean
Burisma.
Biden's
That has
son.
nothing to really do with the pardons.
Yeah, so you're saying that Biden's son got that job in Ukraine because of his qualifications.
I'll inform you that the corruption allegation against Biden has nothing to do with Hunter getting that job. If you have the last name
Hold on.
Biden or
That's
Trump or
not what I
Obama or
asked.
Clinton,
I asked, so Biden's sons,
hmm
he had the qualifications to have the
Biden's
job he
son
had in
got that
Ukraine.
job because, in part, his last name was Biden. I'm sure he's also very well educated, but definitely his last name being Biden played a major role. You understand that is not the same thing as using the office of the presidency to enrich yourself, right? Hunter Biden
Okay,
was not an elected official.
so what you're saying is that you just said that
Instead of telling me what I'm
his
saying, can you address what I actually said and
I
explain if it
want
makes
no,
sense?
I want you to correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Just now you said that his last name is a major reason as to why he got that job in Ukraine.
Yes. That's called
And
like
it's because
influence peddling and influence dealing, which is like if you're famous, people will be nicer to you, broadly speaking. If your last name is Biden or Clinton or Trump or Bush or Obama, like, yeah, you're probably going to get into any college or any job you want. That's like a social thing. When I'm talking about corruption, I'm talking about someone who is in elected office using the power of the United States government to enrich themselves personally.
yeah, so
And we
it's
agree
just
Hunter Biden was not president,
no, neither are Trump's children.
but Trump is. So then if you want to give me an example of Joe Biden using his position as VP, which is the actual corruption allegation people make, that, oh, he told this prosecutor in Ukraine to like leave his son alone, it's all been debunked. It's not even true. I mean, someone is in prison for lying about that under oath to frame the Bidens.
Okay. So what I understand from what you're saying is that there was a major reason, the major part of why Hunter Biden got the job that he got. Remember, I don't rock with either party. I just look at the stuff like, yeah, okay. So the major reason why he got the job that he got was because of his last name, right?
That was one of the major factors, yes.
And this job, he had it, I think, in like from 2013 or something to like 2019 or whatever. And it was in a private energy company.
Burisma.
Now, yeah. Now, he had the qualifications for this job.
You understand he's like highly educated, went to law school, served on the board of directors for Amtrak, which has some tangential relationship to energy. Now, it is true, and I believe they even said that having Hunter Biden on their board was more of an optics thing. Like, oh, look, we have someone with the last name Biden in our company. So, I mean, it was a mix of opportunism and fame, and then some qualification. If Hunter Biden had no law school degree and no undergraduate degree, I don't know that he would have gotten that job. But obviously, his last name played a role. This is just a entirely different category than Donald Trump making like billions of dollars of deals that directly enrich assets that he owns, right? Or like selling Trump coin. These are like not. I asked you for an example of something comparable. This is not comparable.
I see. Look, I see dirt is dirt. I agree. Trump coin is like proof that it's like, dude, look at this dude. His net worth is built on a scam, right?
It's
like
almost
that's
doubled since he came into office.
Yeah, exactly. That's ridiculous.
And it's corrupt,
but
right?
Somehow, no, I agree. But somehow, when I'm telling you about this dude Hunter Biden and how
are those the same thing?
What I want you to understand, right? What I want you to understand, if someone is like you're saying, Trump is really good at doing this bad stuff. And what I'm seeing is that I'm telling you about someone else.
He's just shameless about it. No one calls him out for it on his own side.
Okay, you're saying he's not good at it. He's just shameless about it. He's the president of the United States.
Yes.
He's pretty good at doing this bad stuff. I can give someone their flowers. He's not. It's not like he's losing.
Are you saying he's good at like committing crimes and being corrupt? I guess like maybe.
I just said he's good at doing this bad stuff.
Sure. So, but when you say good, that implies that he's like a mastermind, but he always gets caught. It's just that no one cares.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my point. Is like he doesn't get away with it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He doesn't get away with it, even though he's not locked up. Okay. But
yes.
what I'm looking at right now, right? What I want. I wish people would just get this, because I have this dynamic with people all the time.
Yeah.
I'm telling you about a man, Biden.
Yes.
A dude who was obviously inept. When you see that,
what do you mean
and you see what
inept?
Inadequate.
Hunter Biden?
No.
Or Joe Biden?
Not the son. Yeah, Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden. I'm talking about what he was able to do. So
inept in what regard?
Literally
like
himself.
Saying, like,
so Joe Biden literally himself, he was overseeing the U.S. policy in Ukraine.
Under the direction of Obama and the State Department, right?
Okay, sure. Just like how Rubio is under the direction of...
No, the way our executive branch works in Trump's second term is a massive departure from what it's been for the last few decades. The entire chain of command has changed.
Okay, but
that's relevant. I just want to say that's relevant, right? Like the DOJ used to be a pretty. I'm not to say there was never cross pollination, but the DOJ, there were certain norms in DOJ policies that kept the DOJ separate from the White House. Trump just announced 2 days ago we're creating a new assistant attorney general position that's going to work directly out of the White House. So this is like. I don't like drawing analogies between the Obama administration, how their officials made decisions, and how the Trump administration makes decisions.
Yeah, so
but it seems like a constant theme we keep running into is like for example, if I got a little paper cut, that's an injury. If someone chopped my arm off, that's an injury. And if someone comes and says to me, dude, listen, if I have to pick an injury, I'm picking paper cut over amputation 10 times out of 10. And you're like, listen, dude, you might be like a biased little freak online, but I'm a centrist. I see both sides as evil, and I think that they're both injuries at the end of the day. So who really cares? Do you see the issue with that reasoning?
Yeah, see, so the issue I see with the reasoning is that You think one side is causing a paper cut, and you think the other side is cutting arms off. And what I'm trying to get you to understand is that both of these
Are cutting
sides
arms off?
are cutting arms off.
That's why I
And
asked you
now,
for an example of any corruption in the 21st, I didn't even say the last 10 years, in the entire 21st century from a sitting president that is equivalent to the corruption from Trump, who's a sitting president. And you haven't given me an
yeah,
example of that.
so what I consider to be at the same level, you might not consider it to be at the same
Sure, and
level.
then we can debate why
But
is it or is it not at
yeah,
the same
yeah.
level.
But I find it to be at the same level
The
to
Hunter Biden
be
thing?
in at well, Hunter Biden's one wonderful big example of a horrible
Yeah, but
situation.
can you
But
explain how that's at
aside
the
from
same
that,
level as like Trump coin or the
okay,
World Liberty
yeah.
Financial deals or
So aside from that is the fact that we all knew Joe Biden was inept, inadequate, he wasn't all there. And at the same time, he made many executive orders
I just want to say that's not
using
true, but you can continue, I guess. When you
okay,
say
yeah,
he was
you can
inept,
yeah,
Biden was like legislatively like one of the most effective presidents in modern history.
yeah, was. But anyways,
Right, because he's not
what
president
I
anymore.
mean
I'm just
is what I
saying like
mean
you're loading certain premises into your argument. I just don't want to let them slide. I agree that Biden was like slowing down and cognitively declining, and that really picked up speed in like 2023. But again, he wasn't like an inept president. Like he made a lot of major legislative accomplishments, right?
yeah, did
Like
he
more than
sign that
Trump
stuff
ever has.
himself? Did he sign that stuff
A
himself?
lot of it he did. It's on video. They would do like these signing ceremonies. So yeah, and if you want to talk about the auto pen, Trump has
Wait,
used it more than Biden did.
wait. You're saying Biden signed a lot of his executive orders himself?
We're talking about legislation.
No, I'm talking about him using
Look, you
the
just
auto
changed the
pen.
subject to EOs. I've been talking about legislation. I've made that very clear. I said legislatively
Yeah, okay.
successful.
But what you've been asking me is like, can I show you or tell you anything that's as corrupt or more corrupt
Yes,
or anything like
as
that?
what Trump's
And so
done.
what I'm yeah, and so what I'm bringing up is this concept that if Trump pardoned his son, if Trump pardoned his family, the way that he would not catch any slack for that, because what I see with that, when you're pardoning your
I'm
own
sorry.
family
I have
and
to pause you
pardoning
real
people,
quick. I have to pause you real
okay,
quick.
okay, okay.
Biden got a lot of flack for his pardons, and no one even talks about anymore that Donald Trump pardoned violent felons convicted of assault of police officers and seditious conspiracy. And the Republican Party does
Oh,
not give a single shit.
dude,
When Biden pardoned Hunter
dude.
Biden, there were Democrats, elected Democrats, going on mainstream news saying, I don't like this. This is the entire
Okay,
difference I've been pointing out to you.
okay. So from I wonder where you read about Trump pardoning violent
The
people who
January
beat up
6
police
pardons?
officers. Yeah, I know. And I looked into from what I found in the January 6 pardons, they
Yeah?
specified not pardoning. They pardoned people who were non-violent.
No, they pardoned violent people. There were people pardoned who were
Okay.
convicted of seditious conspiracy against the United States and felony
Yeah,
assault of a police officer.
we can agree to disagree on that. We
No,
can agree
no,
to
we
disagree on
can't.
that.
That is not my opinion. That is a fact. There is record of this. These people
Dude,
are
that's
loose. There are people who are on video assaulting police officers who are now on video out in the open walking the streets. And these people have went on to commit other crimes. You know who Hakeem Jeffries is? The leader of the House Democrats? One of the people, the January 6 terrorists that Trump pardoned, one of them was just recently arrested for making death threats against Hakeem Jeffries. Many of these people that were pardoned by Trump in January have went on to reoffend serious felonies. These are people who threatened to like kill FBI agents. And your argument like, oh, if Trump pardoned Don Jr., the whole world would come after him. Trump pardoning these terrorists is a way bigger deal than him pardoning Don Jr. could ever be. And look, it's not even been a full year, and Republicans don't even care about this.
okay. Maybe I gotta look into that some more. You're probably correct. I'm not trying to go back and forth with you about that. I'll look into it some
Okay.
more. But what I understand from what you're talking about, right? You're saying that him pardoning all these people is worse than pardoning your personal family. I see all these presidents as corrupt, and I think that when a president pardons their personal family,
He
when
was
a
right to pardon
president
them.
oh, see, and that sounds like a strong bias to me, but
Here's the
that's
thing.
neither here
You
nor
didn't even
there.
ask me why I
I
think it was right to do that. You just assume that if I think it's okay for Biden to do something and not okay for Trump to do something, that the underlying fact of those situations would be identical, and
okay,
therefore I'm
so why is it
biased.
right? Why is it right to pardon your
Because the
personal
Trump
family?
administration has been threatening to go after their political opponents, which they have been doing, and Donald Trump now complains, I wish I could go after the Jan 6 committee, I wish I could go after Hunter, but Biden pardoned them. Biden pardoned them to protect them from political persecution from the Trump DOJ, which he was clearly vindicated in, seeing as that Donald Trump has sent his DOJ after Letitia James, after James Comey, on
Has
trumped up
has
fake
Donald
charges.
Trump has Donald Trump faced any sort of political persecution?
Like legally?
Yeah.
No. He's faced
So
legal bias where
so
the DOJ went really easy on him in 2023 and
so
2024.
so you're saying that the 34 felonies that he
Yes,
was charged
that's what
with,
I'm saying.
that wasn't a political persecution?
He committed those crimes, and a jury that his legal team signed off on said that he committed those crimes.
What were the crimes he committed?
There were campaign finance violations, which were the underlying felony that were used to upgrade the misdemeanor charge to a felony charge of him saying that his reimbursements to Michael Cohen for Michael Cohen's campaign spending to hide a story during the election, labeling those a retainer rather than a reimbursement for campaign spending, in-kind contributions, that was clearly illegal.
Dude, if you don't see the corruption on both sides,
And again, we're just
I
resorting
don't.
back to these
I,
like bumper stickers and like enlightened centrist platitudes about like, dude,
no,
at the end of
it's
the
not.
day, like I see through the matrix and it's all two wings of one bird, but I'm not a part of those wings. I'm a different bird and I can look down on these wings. It's like, dude, no, the parties are different. That doesn't mean that one party's perfect and one party's evil, but we have to be able to look at things on a case by case basis and evaluate the underlying facts.
Okay,
And
so
someone asked
both
on YouTube,
parties.
what was the underlying crime that elevated the charge? Again, there are campaign finance requirements that when you are spending money as part of a campaign, you have to report those contributions to the FEC. The money that Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels to silence that story the week before the election was never reported to the FEC. That was the underlying federal felony that was used to upgrade the misdemeanor charges to felony charges.
Yeah, so these sorts of things that Trump was charged with all right before the election was about to
There was
happen.
bias in the
And
timing, which was in favor of Trump. You understand that they went easy on Trump and they slow walked the investigation because they didn't want to give the optics of we're being too hard on Trump. So they gave him a second chance, a third chance, and only when Trump refused to comply did the DOJ finally indict him on the classified documents case after giving him over a year to comply with them. So Trump was given second chances that no other politician would be given. So if you want to make the argument that the DOJ, their indictments of Trump were biased in a political way, that is true. They were biased in favor of Donald Trump.
okay, so your perspective is that they're biased in favor of
That's not
Donald
my
Trump.
perspective. That is
Have
facts. There is reporting
have
on this that Merrick Garland, the attorney general under Joe Biden, paused the investigations into everything related to Trump during the 2022 midterms, even though Donald Trump was not on the ballot in 2022. The reason Merrick Garland did that is because he said, oh, it's going to look like we're politically interfering if there's an active investigation into Donald Trump during the midterms. And he
okay,
actively helped
so
Trump there.
so how many politicians in the
Can you
last 10
address that?
years? And yeah, I
Because
am
you bring up
addressing it.
examples of like, oh, this is proof the DOJ and the New York state courts are biased against Trump. I explicitly say here's why they're not biased, and then instead of addressing that, you just say, okay, like next topic.
Yeah, because I don't agree that they were biased against Trump. I mean I don't agree that they were biased
I
for
understand
Trump,
that,
like
but you
in
have
his
to make an
favor.
argument as to why you don't agree. Because I've made my argument why I think you're wrong. Now you can explain. Actually, no. Here's proof it was biased. What's the proof, other than just vibes or whatever?
Okay, so the action behind the timing of it, right? You're saying that the
Of which thing? I want to
timing,
be clear. The New York
the
charges, which were state level charges, Biden has nothing to do with, or the federal indictments from the DOJ.
yeah, so man, it's like you don't see how things are like really tied in. Saying that the state level charges have nothing to do with who the president is It's
Okay,
not.
explain. Did Biden give orders to these people? And you like, okay, if it's so obvious and so clear, you should be able to explain what the connection there is. And people have made
Okay.
connections like, oh, this one DOJ prosecutor went back to. I'm giving you the MAGA arguments for you because it seems like you don't even know them. Some people say, oh, this one DOJ prosecutor, he went back to work in this one lower division. Why would he demote himself? Seems like politically coordinated. Turns out he had a history of working there. He knew people there. He had expertise that was relevant. What I'm asking you is, do you have a single shred of evidence that Joe Biden instructed the New York prosecutors to go after Donald Trump?
I do not.
Okay, is it
And
your
that is not.
claim? Is it your claim that Joe Biden gave them orders to do this?
It is not my. It is not my claim.
Okay, so then what is the
I
connection
what?
between Joe Biden and this, which
Okay.
is like improper?
All right. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that in my entire lifetime, no American politician has gone to jail for corruption.
Not true.
Not aware. Not in my. Not. It's nothing that I'm aware of. I have not seen
This is
any
where this is why I
American.
say that certain people have fallen into like a cult of Trumpism, where it's like all of the
No, I am.
facts.
You
All of
think
the
I'm a
facts.
Trumpist?
No,
You think I'm a
no, but your
Trumpist?
media diet and the way you frame things is always carrying weight for the Trump side. Like you make excuses for them and you hold the
I'm not
Democrats.
carrying weight
Dude,
for
you
any
hold the
side.
Democrats to a higher standard than you hold Trump to, even if
I
you've
do
convinced
not
yourself
hold.
that's not the case.
You're making claims that are literally not true.
No,
I
you've
don't hold
demonstrated the
either.
claims that I'm making over the
I
course of this
don't hold.
conversation.
I don't hold either side higher than any other side.
You literally
I
compared
literally.
Hunter Biden
I,
getting a job at Burisma to Trump creating Trump coin and profiting to the tune of billions of dollars.
I compared those two things.
Yes. You said, I asked you
No,
for
I
an
no,
example.
I
They're like, oh, you're saying it's not a
I
paper
I
cut. It's
literally
also,
didn't.
you said it's not a paper
I
cut.
literally didn't.
You said it's not just a paper cut. Both sides are cutting arms. I said, what's your example of them cutting arms on the Democrat side? And you said, Biden was inept and Hunter worked at an energy company.
Okay, so okay, I don't know why this isn't coming across as clearly as
Me
I wish
neither.
it was. But what I want to be understood is that these politicians, presidents, congressmen, senators, all these sorts of people, they're all dabbling in corruption. They all do illegal things,
To
and no
different
one ever
extents.
goes,
And not all of
no
them do
one,
illegal things.
and
No.
no one ever goes to jail. No
Do you
one
know who
ever
Bob
ends up
Menendez
in
is?
prison. No, I don't
Do
know
you
who Bob
understand
Menendez
that under
is.
Joe Biden's presidency, there was an equal number of Democrats and Republicans who had been indicted by his DOJ? And that Jack Smith, the supposed deranged Jack Smith, who, if you think the prosecutions federally against Trump were biased, you would have to argue that Jack Smith was a biased prosecutor. The same Jack Smith who worked under Democrats and under Republicans, the same Jack Smith who pressed charges against Democrats and against Republicans for corruption charges and other federal crimes. So just because you don't know that these things have happened doesn't mean they haven't happened. And that's why I say you fall into the Trump media ecosystem. The Trump people are never going to tell you that Jack Smith indicted Democrats. They're never going to tell you that Biden's DOJ indicted Democrats. The reason you're never going to see that on your algorithm is because it contradicts your worldview, which you've already invented up, and your worldview is built on improper information or just straight up disinformation that is the result of MAGA propaganda, and it's so prevalent and it's infiltrated
I
so deeply into your mind that you can sit here, and I think you mean it when you say, I'm unbiased, I hold both parties to the same standard. You might think you do, but your underlying thought process and the facts you're aware of paint a very different picture.
No, so I was very bothered when people were saying Joe Biden's not my president because
That's
it
not what I'm
made me
talking
feel.
about, though.
I want you to understand something. I just looked up Bob Menendez
hmm
and he didn't go to prison. It says that his trial ended in mistrial.
And did he get charges
So
pressed against him? Trump also didn't go to prison, so
I
I don't know what your
yeah,
argument there would be.
that I know Trump got charges pressed against him.
And
I'm
Trump
talking
also
about
didn't go to
people.
prison, right?
Yes,
So hold on.
exactly what I'm
Whether someone
saying.
gets convicted or goes to prison, that's a different question from political bias because that's decided by a
Actually
jury and a
punished
judge.
for their
Hold on.
crimes.
The actual quote unquote bias is going to come into play with indictments, not with convictions.
actually punished for their crimes.
Okay, so now it's like you don't understand how the legal system works. If you want to make the claim that there's political bias being used, like quote unquote lawfare, that is going to be evident with indictments and subpoenas, not with convictions, because the executive branch is not convicting people. They're bringing indictments to courts. If a court says, okay, mistrial on procedural grounds or not guilty or guilty, that's up to a judge and a jury. The place where bias can enter these situations is our prosecutors improperly targeting people and improperly indicting people, the way that Trump's DOJ improperly targeted and indicted Letitia James and James Comey, and the way that MAGA accuses Biden's DOJ, not of anything having to do with convictions, but they say Merrick Garland and Jack Smith improperly indicted Trump. So again, this is another example where I have to make the MAGA argument for you because you don't know the underlying facts of the case.
Yeah, all I've been repeating.
Can you address
Is
that?
that-
Can you? Because you're saying, okay, if politicians are held to this equal standard, then look, Bob Menendez mistrial. Why aren't these politicians going to jail? Whether or not they go to jail is not a question of political bias on the behalf of like the DOJ or state prosecutors. That's the question for judges and juries. The bias shows up and are charges even pressed at all in the first place, right? Because prosecutors have discretion. Prosecutors can decide which cases do I go after and which ones are maybe not worth the resources. And that's where bias comes into play and discretion of an individual comes into play. And that's where you can criticize prosecutors like, okay, why was this guy indicted, this guy wasn't? But you're not even talking about indictments because I just showed you that multiple Democrats have been indicted, have been subpoenaed, have faced consequences for federal crimes. Eric Adams, who is a Democrat mayor, was facing charges from Biden's DOJ on corruption. And then who pardoned him in a corrupt quid pro quo deal? Trump, the Republican. You still there? Oh, he left. He left. I didn't want to be too mean to that guy because he wasn't like necessarily disrespectful, but I really hate the fake centrist stuff. Because a lot of these people think they're centrist. They think like, oh, I'm equally critical of Democrats. Like, this is a stereotypical YouTube centrist. Listen, I'm not a MAGA guy. I'm an independent thinker, right? So when Donald Trump attempts a coup, I think that's kind of rude. And when Kamala Harris laughs, I think she should burn in hell for that. I'm harsh on both sides, guys. When Joe Biden, in an offhanded comment, says that MAGA is garbage, I think that's the end of the world. And when Donald Trump calls his political opponents scum and vermin and the enemy from within and threatens them with jail and with death, I think that that's also kind of rude a little bit, but it's also kind of funny and based. See? Like, it's so stupid. Saying that two sides are equally bad is not unbiased. You're biased in favor of seeming like a neutral arbiter that is like doing false equivalencies. I do have to dip in like 10 minutes, by the way.
I love you! I love you! You're such a cutie patootie! Tell me why!
Thanks. You know what's so funny? When I accepted that guy up, I had like almost 6, 7. I know I'm not gonna do that. I had like 6 or 7 guest requests. They're all gone. I saw the number of guest requests falling precipitously as that debate continued. This is why my debate lives never last too long. We have to pivot to news or reaction content. Because speaking of debates, though, I am scheduled, I believe. I never really got confirmation of this. I think I'm scheduled tomorrow to be debating Rob Noor at 9 p.m., I think. The modern day debate guy was like, oh, are you free January 11th at 9 p.m.? And I was like, yeah, I'm free. Let's do it. And I haven't heard back from him yet, but if you go on the Modern Day Debate YouTube channel... By the way, hold on, I need to screen share. Hold on, sorry. There's that, and then let's switch on CapCut. Okay. Search up... What the fuck? What the hold on. What? This, one second. There we go. Okay. There we go. If you go to Modern Day Debate on YouTube and then you go to Live, the Live tab, you should see this scheduled for 9 p.m. Me versus Rob Noor. The topic is, was Trump a better pick than Kamala? So I think this is happening tomorrow at 9 p.m. Maybe it's not. It's been rescheduled twice because of holiday stuff, and I think Rob was busy. I hope it happens tomorrow. This is 9 p.m. Eastern time. Just go to YouTube, search up Modern Day Debate, and then go to the live tab on the channel, and you should be able to find that. So tune in for that tomorrow, unless it doesn't happen tomorrow. I don't know. I'm assuming it is because he said, does the 11th at 9 p.m. work? And I said yes, and now it's scheduled for that on the YouTube page, but I never got a confirmation, so maybe not. I don't know. Oh, I think I actually don't have to end the live soon. Never mind. I think I can stick around. I'm only going to stick around if there's something to do, though. Do we have any guest requests? Okay, we have one person.
It's me again! You're so cute! I love you!
Thanks. Maybe I am just going to end the live soon. I mean, if there's no debates, if there's any topics people want me to cover, I've covered Venezuela, I've covered the ICE, the shooting of Rene Good. So I don't know what more I could really contribute right now in terms of reaction stuff or new stuff. Hold on. This is pissing me off. Have you talked about the ISIS strikes? No, I haven't looked into that. Iran, yeah, there's like civil unrest in Iran. Have we watched the I guess we can watch the Jack Smith stuff. Jack Smith deposition.
We felt we had such strong proof.
Mr. Kowski, Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Castor. On behalf of Lanny Brewer and myself, we do have some preliminary remarks that we would like to make. Mr. Smith is committed to providing information to this committee about the work of the special counsel's office, while following all laws and rules restricting a former prosecutor's ability to disclose certain information. To that end, we appreciate the committee's assistance.
Hold on, there are some debaters. Let's switch the scene and let these people up. Just give me 1 second to check something. Okay, let's see. I feel like these are both gonna be the same person who is just screaming.
It's me again!
Yeah.
I love you!
Yeah.
Yo, what's good, man?
Hey, how old are you?
I'm 18.
You sound familiar. Have we debated before?
Adam, come on. You know me.
I don't think. Do you want to debate? Or
Yeah, of course I
what do
do.
you want to debate?
All of it, man.
Like what?
Everything, like,
Oh, do you think Trump is corrupt?
no.
Why not?
Yeah, he's just the best guy ever, to be honest.
Why do you say so?
What? What?
At
was
least do a better job of trolling. Come on. Why do you think Trump is a great guy?
Yo, you used to like me, man. What happened? You used to let me up all the time.
You're up now. The floor is yours. So,
I don't know that term.
do you have anything
Is that-
that you'd like to discuss with me today?
Oh man, I don't even like Trump, man. Just
Yeah.
wanted to come up. It's been a few months.
Yeah.
He used to kick me all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
In working with the Department of Justice to provide Mr. Smith with authorization and clarification on the parameters around Mr. Smith's testimony today. Of course, some restrictions remain on Mr. Smith's testimony, two of which I would like to highlight before we begin. First, as the committee is aware...
By the way, there's a reason this was released on like New Year's Eve, and there's a reason this was done behind closed doors, despite Jack Smith insisting over and over and over again that he wants to do it on live TV in public. Because Republicans know if this became a big media spectacle and a big event that everyone had their eyes on, that's not good for Trump. This again makes clear the difference between the true believers of MAGA and the ringleaders of MAGA. The ringleaders know they're feeding you slop, they know they're lying to you, they know they're feeding you bullshit, and they plan things and say things accordingly. The true believers probably think that if Jack Smith testified on live TV that like the Republicans would like destroy him and expose the deep state plan against Trump or whatever, and to keep that fantasy alive, they can't let this guy on TV. They have to do this in a secret room and then just drop the full 8-hour thing when no one's really paying attention.
In its letter of December 11th, 2025, the Justice
And then
Department...
there's no one in the... Whoa. I almost spoke too soon. I was going to say no one in the guest request, but I sit corrected. And I think this person does want to debate because their name seems very debatey to me. And then we have this guy from like a Russian or Chinese bot farm. Who's not even a real person.
It's me again! I love
Can I ask you a question?
You're so cute!
Can I ask you a question?
What?
How many accounts do you have?
1,000,000.
Thank you to Analytical RN on YouTube for the $9.99 super chat. This gift is to bribe you to hire me as your stylist when you get your first pro job as a political commentator. Can we get some W's for Analytical RN in the chat? Thank you for the $10 super chat. I can't tell if that's a female or underage child. I don't know. Isn't this the same person that always goes on Parker's lives? Because the day that Parker rated my live, he texted me and he was like, yeah, this person is also always on my lives as well. So I think this is someone who found me through Parker. And Dean also. Well, I guess I'm glad to be part of that circle. I keep switching away from screen share to do debates. Is this also just going to be...
Hello,
Hey, how old are you?
I'm 20.
And do you support Trump?
No, not exactly. I do not.
Okay.
I just have a question.
Sure.
So, oh my gosh, my dog's barking. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I honestly really have a hard time getting all into politics and everything. I wouldn't really align myself with a Republican or a Democrat.
Okay.
And I would argue, I do agree. I think that mass deportations are dangerous for sure. And we can see that just by what's been happening all around us in the country. What would your solution be to this immigration problem then?
I think we have to do comprehensive immigration reform. So people like to focus on the border. What you have to do simultaneously is just coming into America legally is unnecessarily difficult right now and unnecessarily complicated. So we have to reform how people come in here, if they're coming in for education or temporary work, or if they want to live here on a green card. That needs to be made easier and quicker and more thorough. At the same time, I have no issue with securing our border to make sure the F drug is not getting in, other drugs are not getting in. Through sensors and technology, having Border Patrol is fine. But then at the same time, if someone comes in undocumented, they have to be given the due process of seeing an immigration judge, right? Where if someone's been here for 10 years and they've been paying their taxes and they have children who are American citizens and they're a productive member of their community, that person should at least have the chance to make their case as to why they should be allowed to stay here. So I think focusing just on deportations or just on the border is already addressing it in the wrong way.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't entirely disagree with you. I've seen like a little bit, I don't know how true it is, that like Trump is trying to get like more ICE agents or whatever to go like dead ass like door to door to door
Yes.
to like try to find these like the immigrants.
Yeah.
And what would that kind of look like for you? That's like in a more humane way
Sure.
to find
Well,
illegal
in a
immigrants.
more humane system, people wouldn't have to feel like they have to hide from ICE, right? So, for example, a lot of the people that the Trump administration labels illegal aliens are not even quote unquote illegal. They are people who came to the US border to a port of entry and they said, I'm in fear for my life. I want to seek some kind of temporary protected status or asylum or something else, right? The way that works is first they do this thing called a credible fear interview where they answer some basic questions. And if they can pass through that filter, then they get scheduled to see an immigration judge, right? The issue is we have a backlog right now of like 3 million cases. So sometimes these people are waiting like years and years to see an immigration judge just to see whether or not they get asylum or not. In the meantime, those people sometimes they can't even work. And when ICE is saying we're going door to door, we're going after these people, they're also going to immigration courts. And what they're doing is they're getting these people and they're just canceling their court date and then just deporting them immediately. So in my ideal system, I would say if you are here undocumented, bring yourself forward to DHS. And if you want to work and pay taxes, as long as you check in with DHS every few weeks, we'll give you like a work permit and we'll speed up your court case. So in the meantime, before you can see a judge, you can work and you can pay taxes and you're on the books. I guarantee you, a lot of people that are undocumented, they don't want to live in the shadows. If they could be announcing themselves in public and not be persecuted and attacked and insulted and beaten and deported, and there was some kind of process, fill out these documents, check in here, we're going to monitor you're on your best behavior. If you commit a crime, we're coming after you. I think that deportations should be only really focused on people that come here illegally and are committing crimes.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and I think like obviously due to the current administration, like yeah, of course it's going to be like more difficult to come up. However, I'd also make the argument. I'm sure that there are like a select few or like a good amount of people that still wouldn't want to come forward. So how would you like attack that situation?
Oh, I
as
would
well?
say that we're going to make it very easy to come forward and do things the right way. If you've been here for a certain number of years, we can put you on a pathway to a green card or a work permit or whatever. And then we'll say, listen, we're being very lenient. We're going to give you like a 1-year period to find your closest DHS or your closest immigration court, whatever. And then after whatever point in time, if you're still not complying, then you are going to get deported. So you have to have some kind of enforcement mechanism if people are bad faith actors, because I'd assume if someone's given the opportunity to legalize themselves and they choose not to, then like, yeah, I have some questions and we have to probably at least detain you if not deport you. And that's fine. But that's a much smaller group of people.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty reasonable.
And just by the way, I think that what I just articulated is what like 70 to 80% of Americans believe. And a lot of the disagreement on immigration policy is artificially created by MAGA by pretending like there's millions of criminals coming here when that's not true.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree. And I think like social media kind of like promotes this like idea as well. I think it's just like pushed into mainstream media and a lot of people unfortunately are falling for it. And I think like media also kind of like portrays like all of Republicans to believe this too. And I think like most Republicans that aren't MAGA that I've spoken to also agree with this stance. So
Yeah, I think it's true.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me up. I
Yep.
appreciate it a lot.
No worries. And thank you for the question. It's nice to get normal conversation sometimes where the person is not just completely 110% confident but has no knowledge at all. Yeah, if if I don't get any debates and you are like, I want to understand your position on this better, I don't have a strong opinion on it, I'm down to have those conversations as well. I don't need to be like destroying people in conversations if they're doing them in good faith. The issue is, I think that girl was like she seemed like an independent to me in how she was asking, like an actual independent in how she was asking questions. A lot of these so-called centrists and independents though that use that same label, they will like, they're so like slimy and like slippery where they say like, oh, I'm not biased, I'm just asking questions. This is the Tucker Carlson thing. I'm just asking questions. You're not asking questions. You have a point of view that you're trying to implicitly get across by asking leading questions and then never contending with the answers you're given. So, all that yapping to say, if you're watching this and you're not necessarily someone who wants to like do a shouting match with me, but you're also like, I don't know about your belief on this, I kind of want to ask you questions, you can. What I love more than anything is people who ask me critical questions, who are skeptical of what I say, but who are doing it in actual good faith, where they just want to know, like, why do you think this? And then I can actually answer the question.
Yo.
Hey, how
hello?
old are you?
I'm 18.
And do you support Trump?
No, I hate him absolutely. He's corrupt. I hate
Yeah.
everything about him. I just had a quick question.
Sure.
So with Trump,
Mm-hmm.
I heard there was gonna be like this voting, like that was gonna start, and it was gonna be like if Trump gets impeached or not. I don't know if that's like I forgot what it was called.
Yeah. The issue is Trump can only be impeached if Democrats have a majority in the House, which right now they don't have a majority in the House. And then even if Trump is impeached, to actually remove him from office, you have to have the Senate convict him with, I believe, like a supermajority. So unless Democrats can win back a supermajority in the Senate or convince Senate Republicans to vote with them, Trump's probably not going to be removed from office anytime soon.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. It
But
sucks.
is there no, I heard there was another one. It was like a voting thing for the president
Mhm.
or something where he was trying to gain popularity and votes and he was talking about the good, beautiful big bill or something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, there's like legislation where Trump has to make sure that Republicans in the House and Senate are voting in accordance with what he wants. That is more related to like him advancing his agenda, and the Republican Congress
Oh.
under Trump has been pathetic and useless. They've done nothing except take healthcare away from people, pretty much. I think recently they've done
Yeah.
some kind of good stuff where they're voting on like war powers resolutions and actually bringing back the ACA subsidies. So the only real hope we have is that enough Republicans are like, oh, if I stick with Trump, my political career is over, so now I'm going to turn on him. If we can get enough of those in the Senate, then we could remove him. But that's hard to do.
Yeah. That's what I hopefully want. Like hopefully it may be hard, but hopefully we could do it.
I think it's
And thanks for
possible, but
answering my
it's
question.
definitely tough. I think the Epstein files could be
Yeah.
the type of thing that do that. If the Epstein files come out and we see what's been alleged, which is that there's straight up just pictures of Trump with little girls in there, if that's the case, then I do think we can see him impeached and removed.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
But you never know because he like got free with 34 felonies.
True. He'll find a way to spin it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time, man, and
Yeah.
for the question.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
You too.
I'm back! I love you!
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah,
Why do you do this?
because you're so cute.
But like, why do you have to do it multiple times?
Because you're so cute, and I
Okay, dude. Hey, how old are you?
I'm 53.
And do you support Trump?
I gotta say yeah because I voted for him.
Sure. Well, you don't have to, right? Just- You can say I was wrong to vote for him, and I would
Well,
clap for you.
You No, you know what? I want to be very upfront and transparent. I
Sure.
voted for him. I felt we needed some change. I felt that there was no way, no how we had just bad options on the ballot, but I felt we needed some change, and I did vote for him. So I got to be very upfront and transparent with that.
Sure. So, do you see the debate prompt on the screen right now above my head?
I do, you know,
disagree
and
with any of those?
let's see. Trump is corrupt. Okay, what politician isn't corrupt?
No,
I
but
would
I
answer
Trump
that.
is uniquely corrupt. That's my argument. Like, there's no
Democrats are better
politician
for the
even
AS.
close to being as corrupt as Trump is. So I wouldn't say like, oh, Trump's like any other politician. He's uniquely corrupt.
Well, okay, well, that's incredibly highly debatable.
I don't think so.
mean,
I can
Obama was
explain
corrupt. Obama was very corrupt. Let's be
Sure.
upfront.
Can you give me one
I told you
example
that.
of something
Trump
Obama
is
did
corrupt.
that's on the level of Trump's corruption in his second term?
On the level. What level do you have
Trump
at? Let's go
coined the
with that
World
bar
Liberty
first.
financial deals, or organizing deals, international deals between Eric Trump and foreign heads of state, accepting monetary gifts from other governments in exchange for favors. I mean, I can go on and on. So his net worth has almost doubled in less than a year. He's enriched himself and his family to the tune of billions of dollars. Obama did not enrich himself like that while he was president.
The Democratic Speaker of the House. What's her name?
Nancy Pelosi?
Not Speaker of the House. I'm sorry.
I know the Pelosi
Yeah,
memes. Like
I mean-
I know, and again, I'm in favor of banning congressional stock trading. But again, trading stocks while
Yeah.
you're in Congress is bad. It's not the same thing as using the
Yeah.
power of the presidency to make billions of dollars. Like that's just a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Because the
I
argument
mean,
against
with
congressional
the
stock
whole-
trading is they have access to certain economic information
Yeah.
more than the average person, and they can make trades with that knowledge, which is like almost a form of insider trading.
Almost
not
definitely.
fully insider trading, but I get your point. But that is very different
Yeah.
than Trump saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
if you guys use my cryptocurrency to do this $2 billion deal, then all of a sudden I'm going to give you guys AI chips and pardon your CEO." That's like different, right?
You know what? The thing with Trump, though, at times I think he's super crazy. I think he ought to mask his mouth and just not spew venom.
True.
Because it's a lot of venom. Can we agree?
True.
Yeah. If he were in the background and in the silence, other than I don't almost agree with the way masked ICE officials or officers, whatever you want to call them, kind of end up on video and the way they grab people and nab them. You know,
Yeah,
Obama
they've been violating
did
people's
get
constitutional
rid of
rights.
did deport more, but we see this a lot more.
Right.
You know what? I'll be very transparent with you. So I do a little bit by myself. I own a corporation.
Okay.
I am first generation
Can I ask
Mexican.
what like a full-fledged corporation or like an LLC or like sole proprietorship or what?
LLC.
Okay.
LLC.
Okay.
I'm first generation Mexican.
Okay.
I can give you an example of a relative that's been here 25 years who pays taxes.
Mm-hmm.
He's got one of those whatever they're called. I don't know if he's the DACA program or
DACA
but
is
he
for
pays
minors
taxes.
that came here undocumented and they're given like temporary status.
Yeah.
Is that it?
yeah. What's it called when someone's been here forever and a day and they got like is it an IS number?
ITIN.
ITIN number. He's
Yeah.
got an ITIN number. He pays taxes.
Right.
He pays, insurance. He employs some legal employees, and he's got some illegal migrants working for him.
Sure.
He obviously he's. I'm assuming he's not under the radar because he hasn't committed any crimes. I don't get too personal in the sense with him as far as like, hey man, you've been here 25 years. Why haven't you fixed anything?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's unfair that a political party gave him all these opportunities to pay into the system, but automatically, eventually, 10 years in, 20 years in, hey man, we got to go back and check this guy. He's been doing a good job. He's paying his taxes. He's employing people. You ought to get a green card.
Agreed.
But no political party is willing to do this.
I think that the Democrats are more likely to do like some kind of mass amnesty or some kind of immigration.
But they've
reform than
been in
Republicans.
office so many years. I mean, Obama was
like,
there.
I'll give you an example, right? Like
Biden
passing
was there,
legislation
and
like that requires a lot of support in the House and Senate, and Republicans are just refusing to compromise on this.
Yeah, most definitely. But I think the only one I've heard of late. Now remember, I think we're having decorum and a good discussion here. The only one I've heard of late since Ronald Reagan is Trump for a millisecond say amnesty out loud.
He might have
in the
said that
open.
at some point, but like he's never ever going to do
But-
anything
but,
even remotely close to amnesty.
Okay, I know, but I'm trying to be very, very like. No one's, we've had Clinton was in office, Obama was in office, Biden was in office. They've had their opportunities to do so. You gotta riddle me
Well,
that.
like,
I mean,
here's
they
the thing:
gave
like,
people the
Biden
opportunity to pay
tried
into
to
the
be
system,
a little
pay
bit
taxes,
less
buy
harsh.
insurance.
Biden tried to be a
And they
little
really
bit less
just
harsh.
take and take and take, and as
Hold
long
on,
as they get the
I have to-
votes,
I have to
it
respond.
sounds like they're kind of cool with it.
I have to respond.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about massive immigration reform, which would require like over 60 votes in the Senate and a majority in the House for a political party to do, unless it was bipartisan. And like, Democrats have tried doing bipartisan immigration legislation last time that would have changed our asylum system, for example. Republicans were down to do it. Trump sabotaged it. In the 2020 Democratic primary, almost every Democrat that was running for president ran on some form of temporary legal status or some form of amnesty, which, like, it's the Republican Party that has shifted the Overton window on immigration to the right and made it so there's less Democrats now that support this. But if you actually look at, like, public opinion polls, it's Democratic voters that want this type of thing, not Republican voters that want this type of thing. To actually say, I agree with you. If someone's been here, paying their taxes, contributing to society, give them a green card. I agree.
It's like an automatic. You know, if you've been here, I don't know, set the bar.
Yeah.
8 years, 15 years, I don't know, set the bar. But some of these, it would be one less headache for the entire country to have to worry about. Say, we could have some optimism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, they're going to give some opportunity to people that have been literally paying into the system. Now, let's go backwards a little bit. How do you get allowed, or how do you take from people to pay into a system, given that opportunity with no end in sight? I think that was wrong too, and
I agree.
that was the
when it
Democratic
comes
Party
to federal
that did
taxes, undocumented people are paying into a lot of our entitlement programs. They don't even have access to those programs.
that. Yeah, but like I said, the narrative that I keep saying on is, how do you give the opportunity to a human being that got here however it is they did? You know, these days you can say
I'll tell you
illegally.
how you do that.
And
You need MAGA to chill the fuck out and stop acting like these people are all dangerous criminals and animals coming in. They need to stop.
I think it's a narrative that they push so they can, you know, get the job done. But between you and I,
But it makes it
okay,
harder to get
let's
what you
go
want
with
done.
so because I'm first generation Mexican, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How about this Somalian crap happened in Minneapolis? That's pretty bad. That's 9
Yeah, but
million
like-
that a guy with a camera
True.
just uncovered.
Well, no.
That's pretty bad.
Hold on. The guy with the
Yeah.
camera didn't uncover that. The Biden DOJ uncovered that.
Yeah, but they did nothing about
No,
it.
they-
They weren't
they
upfront.
indicted
They
people
didn't
and-
plaster all over CNN and say,
No,
hey,
no, no.
we're
You're,
going to
you're
come
pointing
down
out
hard
a
on these people
fantastic
because
point, right? Which is that when the Biden
Yeah.
DOJ was first going after the Feeding Our Future nonprofit in Minnesota, and then they found out, wait a second, a lot of these fraudsters in Feeding Our Future are also tied to, like, these autism treatment centers, and it's like all this network of fraudsters and scammers or whatever. They were investigating these people. They were indicting these people. They were charging these people, trying to convict these people in
What
many
became
cases.
of it?
But here's the thing.
What
the
became of it?
media just chose not to focus on it. But when Trump says Somalians are coming in, they're garbage people from a garbage country, there's a reason their country's so bad, I don't want them in our country, and they're scamming people in Minnesota, that's not Trump being concerned about fraud.
How much
Trump
of that-
hold on, let me just finish.
Yeah.
That's not Trump being concerned about fraud. Trump is the biggest fraudster in the United States. That is him trying to exploit legitimate fraud as an excuse to be racist.
Yeah, I mean, it does in the end come out racist. I'm not going to lie to you. But he's not lying, is he?
I mean, he's acting like there's some connection between
No,
being
I mean-
Somali and doing fraud. Like,
Well,
do you
I
think
think
they did
there's
the
a
fraud
stat also
because they're
out there,
Somali?
right? Oh, man. See,
This is an easy question. Hold on, your
Somalia and
your
they do
audio
the
just
fraud.
cut
How about
out.
that?
Your audio's cut out. Can you repeat yourself?
yeah. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
okay,
you now,
so they happen to be Somali and they're committing the fraud. That'd be my answer to that. How about that?
Yes, no, I agree. They happen to be Somali, but the operative factor in why they committed fraud has nothing to do with, like, oh, if only their skin pigment was different, they wouldn't have done fraud. But the entire right-wing machine, to them, this is not about, let's reform our public programs to ensure excellence and ensure that only people are getting money if they need it. What they're doing is saying, oh, we can exploit this childcare fraud in Minnesota to stop funding childcare everywhere, which is what they've done. And I think you'd agree, childcare, when it's not fraudulent, is pretty important to fund. But they're using this as an excuse to go
It's
after...
massively
Yes,
important.
they're using this as an excuse to go after Somalis and as an excuse to go after social safety spending. That's my issue with it.
Okay, but there's a massive, massive amount of fraud.
Agreed.
Happens
And
to
it's
be in a
very
small
serious,
little
and it's a
tiny
serious
sector,
problem.
and it happens to be Somalian, and it's got to be dealt with. And if you peel back the lemon, they most likely the majority might be immigrant illegally here.
Well, the issue
It's
with this
just,
fraud is
you know-
not who's doing the fraud. It's how is this fraud possible to this extent without people being caught sooner. And the reality is that during COVID-19 and the immediate aftermath of COVID-19, the typical way we would do audits on these sorts of nonprofits, they changed. We didn't have people on the scene reporting back. Like, for example, this Feeding Our Futures nonprofit organization, they would bill the government X number of dollars, and they'd say, we need this money because we just fed 5,000 little kids on one day. Normally, before COVID, there would be government auditors on the site making sure, did you actually feed anywhere close to 5,000 people? But here, it was only on paper, and there was not rigorous double checking of are these funds being used the way they say they're being used. That is an issue with the structure of the program. It's not an issue with the idea of childcare programs or people coming here from Somalia. And the way you respond to that is to say childcare is very important. Let's make sure that when we're reimbursing nonprofits that we're very strictly auditing them. And I think no one has an issue with that. But you see how what I just said, 99% of people agree with what I just said. But Trump has to say, I have to make this a divisive issue. I have to say, this is not about excellence in American governance and making things better. This is about Somalis and liberal handouts.
Is that people don't want to have it addressed, or is gonna.
He's exploiting it. I wouldn't say addressing it. He's exploiting it.
Well, I mean, in the exploitation, there's some form of addressing.
Yeah, but it's not even addressing it in the way that would be optimal, right? Because
That's cool the way you kind of agree.
Agree with what?
Kinda, yeah.
So I'll give you an example, right?
He's kind of
I'll give you an
kind of
example, right?
addressing of it.
Let's say I'm with my
Yeah.
friend and we're crossing the street and he hit and run. Someone hits him with a car and I catched it in the car. Oh, it's like a
Damn,
black guy
this
driving or
example's
something.
tough.
Let's say it's like a black guy driving or something, right? And then instead of
Why is
calling,
it gotta be black?
I'll explain. Instead of calling the ambulance, I start saying, everyone look what the black people have done to my friend. Look at my poor friend on the floor here, writhing in pain. I am in some way addressing the fact that he just got hit by a car, but you address this by calling an ambulance, not by generalizing the race of the guy driving the car. It's a crude example to illustrate my point, which is that Trump is, I guess, addressing it insofar as he's speaking about the thing that took place, but the way in which he's engaging with it is bad faith and exploitative. That's my issue. It's not. I want people to engage with problems because they want to solve the problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think nowadays we're very, very careful of pointing out race.
Say it again.
Like what race did what. You know what I mean?
So I didn't
And I think
catch that. Can you repeat the
if
beginning
a
of that?
certain race more so than others is doing it, then I don't see the problem with pointing it out. Like I said,
I
I'm
do
first
see the problem
generation
with pointing it out because
Mexican.
pointing it out implies that it's relevant to it happening, right? So even a lot of these people that are like
Well,
the
if you
Nick
look at the
Fuentes crowd,
statistics
they
on
kind
how
of
the relevance is with the amount of people that of certain races are incarcerated, it becomes just okay. That's true.
Okay,
like you
what
made the
you're
example.
saying
I'm not going to use the
is
skin
true,
color, but
but
use the
hold
example,
on.
and that happens to be the skin color of highest percentile.
Hold
That's
on.
happened.
What you're saying is true in a vacuum, but number one, numbers that we have on convictions and arrests, that's only crimes that police catch. So we're already narrowing the subset to crimes that the criminal justice system in some way prosecutes or at least arrests people. Within that context, how do you break down racial disparities? But the question there is, do you think these people are committing crime because of their race? Because you could just as easily say people that wear red shirts are disproportionately doing this or that. Correlation and causation are not the same thing. And I start raising an eyebrow and people start saying, well, I'm just saying it's disproportionate numbers of this insert group here doing insert crime here. My question is, you could splice that any which way, by race, by height, by the color of their clothes. And when you single in on race, my question is, why is this relevant? Why do you, I'm not talking to you specifically, but why do people keep bringing up the race as the operative factor? And if you're talking, I can't hear you. You're out of the app. So you have to open the app back up for me to hear you.
There you are. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Does that make
Okay.
sense what I just said?
It does, but let's break it down a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know if you live in a suburb or you grew up in inner city in any way, and I'm not sure what
I've
state
lived in
you're
both
in or
suburban
grew up in.
areas and also more like city-ish areas, but mostly suburban. I'd
But
say.
have you been in a ghetto, like grown
No.
up in a ghetto?
No.
Have you heard of Inglewood?
Yep.
California? Okay, I knocked out 19 years there.
Okay.
When I arrived in this country, I was on. Do you know Are you in California? I don't know.
I've been a bunch of times, but I'm not there right now. No.
Okay, I'm in California.
Okay.
What state are you in?
Michigan.
Michigan. Michigan's kind of cool. Okay, but California, like this, I grew through the whole South Central days. I grew up where, when I first arrived in this country, where we lived in an apartment building, I'd walk a quarter of a block and then make a left just to get to my elementary school.
Okay.
And I'd see prostitutes, like, no problem,
Okay.
right? Like, that was back in 1976, 7, something like that. Kindergarten.
Did you just 6'7" me in a political debate? Wow. Sorry,
No.
continue.
I said 1976, 1977 ish.
I heard 6'7".
Around
Go
that
ahead.
time.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
No. wasn't intended.
Okay.
So when I'm
Okay. 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 Can I just ask the relevance of this to the race argument that we were just having? Okay, but is
Firsthand.
their race a causal factor in them committing the crime? Like, is it
Okay,
their
let me
race
ask
that
you
would
something.
cause them
How
to do
many-
the crime? Can I just get an answer to that real quick?
is the it's proven statistically that the race is the one causing the highest crime. Yeah.
Well, no. You're talking about correlation, not causation, right?
Oh, because of their race?
Yeah, I'm saying
No,
is their
absolutely
race
not.
like one of the reasons they're doing the crime, or it just so happens that that's their race?
It just so happens as that's the race. I'm trying
Okay.
to figure out how you spin this, but no,
No,
race
true.
does
So
not create
I
crime.
agree. It just so happens
race,
it's their race.
race does not equal crime.
Yes.
Never.
Okay. So then
And
when
it shouldn't.
people keep talking about
But
race
it
and
just so
crime over and
happens
over again, isn't
the
that
highest
suspicious?
statistic in these races are the ones committing the crime?
But-
You gotta let me finish with my answer.
Okay. I just don't know why that's relevant though, because I could also say, oh, if you look at crime rates by height, tall people versus short people versus like middle height people.
No, you're opening up the narrative, and no one.
Exactly.
I've never been fearful of a 7-footer or of a 5-footer.
Exactly. Here's
but
what I'm
I will
saying.
tell you this:
Is why are we drawing the lines based on race? We could draw lines separating people into different groups by anything, by the color of the clothes they wear, by the color of their hair, their eyes, how tall they are, how short they are, how they're built, their body type, whatever. And we don't talk about crime like that. So certain groups of people on the right are always talking about the black crime rate and the Latino crime rate, and I start wondering, why do you keep bringing...
Is that real though?
Is what real?
The black crime and the Latino crime, is that real?
I don't call that black crime. Like that's a very
What do you call
weird
it?
thing to.
When
It's crime.
When you see the
It's
video
crime.
and it's mostly like a group of black youngsters just walking into a store, walking out of place, what do you call that?
I call it crime.
And
I
they're
don't know
happening
why I have
black.
to add
What do
on
you
the
call that?
race to that.
But they are
Unless
of the
it's in a
race.
study. I mean, if you want to talk about race and crime, all the studies that look at this show that there's the only real causal link that exists in the race and criminal justice system is that sentencing and treatment by law enforcement, on average, tends to be harder and harsher against people of color. And even when you isolate other variables to create a causal link, that is still going to exist, those disparities, right? So, like...
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think you're Asian, right? Because I think Hindis qualify as Asia.
South Asian, yeah.
Okay. I don't see that video, man, of you guys doing what I see.
Okay, let me...
My fiance,
I understand what
my
you're saying.
fiance's Chinese and her kids are Chinese. No
Okay.
problem.
I understand the argument you're making. Let me try to
I have
let me try to
relatives that
make
are
clear. 'Cause
Mexican
I don't think you get my
and
point.
friends that are Mexican, and
Let me try to make my.
statistically,
Hold on.
they happen to be there.
If I show you a video of a bunch of people that are wearing, like, I don't know, a certain color of shoes, and I end up realizing, wait a second, all these people that wear black shoes, they happen to commit crimes at a higher rate. Am I going to start going to someone and be like, listen, you wear white shoes? I don't see a lot of your white shoe people doing the crime. I see a lot of those black shoe people doing the crime. It's like, why are you mentioning this one characteristic of the people doing the crime as if it's relevant to the crime itself? You understand that?
Okay. When I knocked out 19 years of Inglewood, California, I'll give you one firsthand experience.
Okay.
I used to DJ, and at this point, I was DJing like weddings, and I think at this point I'm doing like halls, all right. But I had a storage in my garage at this point. I get home that night, and I get a little lackadaisical. We had a van. I didn't empty out the van and put it under key. And I even did one more worse than that. I didn't lock the van because there was a security gate. True story, my hand to God, right hand up. I don't know what religion or faith you believe in, but God, we believe in that. All right. I come home, drive in my sedan with my kids from school, and there happens to be an African American, well, 3 of them, just taking stuff out of the van.
Okay.
They happen to be black, man, and that is the race that was committing the first.
Well, no,
hate
the
crime.
race was not committing the crime. Those people were committing the crime.
Really, it wasn't. Yeah, but
Does that
the
make- does that
majority
distinction
of
make
the-
sense, though?
I didn't see an Asian guy helping the black guy dig out the speaker. It just wasn't happening. It could have, because anything's possible.
Wait, why is it
but
relevant
wasn't
whether or
happening.
not an Asian guy was there? It's like, this is what I'm not understanding.
Because statistically, and I know for a fact, I have some Hindi clientele now.
Uh-huh.
They're fantastic. They wouldn't. I would never.
Are they
fear or
fantastic
fathom
'cause
the
they're
thought
brown?
Of this example.
Are they fantastic because they're brown or because of, like, them as
No,
people? Like,
they're
their character
fantastic
as
because
people?
they're just because they're, dude. The Hindi people I meet, they're just great. They're
Sure,
they're great to socialize.
Awesome.
They don't like each other. I don't know why sometimes, but they're great. I mean, I meet them and they're great. They're great people.
But there's
I
great
would never
people in
fear 'em, and
every
if we
group,
had a
right?
Consensus. Huh?
There's great people in every group. There's horrible people in every group. No, wait. Okay, so. Okay, let me ask you a question. Those exact same Hindi people who you're saying they're so great, right? Let's imagine that God's. Let's just imagine there's these. Okay, let me just paint out this hypothetical to illustrate the issue with your logic. Let's say there's this great Asian guy, and you're like, oh, he's such a great Asian guy. I could never see him doing any crime or anything. And let's say he goes home to sleep, and God snaps his fingers, and this exact same Asian guy, he wakes up in the body of like a black man or something. Would that change anything about your evaluation of like his proclivity for crime or his character? It's the point I'm making here is like the way that light reflects off of someone's skin just does not have much to do. It doesn't have anything to do with their proclivity to commit crime. And this has been proven in studies. When you compare crime rates between different racial groups and you control for geography and socioeconomic status and age and gender and all this different stuff, then ultimately there is actually no difference there. Mm-hmm. Can you address that? I feel like you're not addressing my points. Yeah. They think that they're guilty of crimes? They think that they have guilt by association because they're black?
They get guilt by association because they're black.
No, I'm not saying people might not treat them that way, but do they feel like guilty for being black?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I said they get guilt by association. In other words, because they're black and other people do black crimes.
And also, just to be
And
clear,
it's,
like,
someone said, "Don't believe the stats on the
and
comments."
just
No,
one thing, to
believe
be
the
clear,
stats.
the stats show that their race is not a causative link with crime. That's what the stats show. The meta-analyses show this. But furthermore, like, it's also different.
Are
when-
there more blacks
Let me just finish.
than
Let me just
Chinese
finish.
people for
It's
being in
also
jail?
different when people criticize someone from within their group, right? So, like, as someone who comes from like a South Asian background, if I have criticisms for South Asian Asian culture, that's going to hit different than like if a random white guy shows up and starts criticizing South Asians, right?
It exists, Adam. For example, if I
Wait,
have
do
a
you
Hindi
understand that?
conversation about Pakistan, it's going to happen.
Dude, you're like not, I don't want to argue with you, but you're like really not addressing anything I say at all. You're just giving me stories and not responding to what I say in response.
They're real and they're factual.
Right, but this is why data exists, right? Because everyone's going to have a story about something.
What's the data say about the most incarcerated race?
The most incarcerated race? That's not the question.
Yeah. Well, okay, but I'm asking it.
You can tell us.
It happens.
You're
to be
asking a
black.
question that, okay, but why is that relevant?
Well, because you said
Because you know what's a way bigger
shouldn't be
predictor is like
mentioned.
if it's a young man. That's the biggest thing. But notice how you didn't say, like, what you choose to emphasize in a conversation says a lot about what's going on under the hood of your thought process. And when you only emphasize and focus on the race aspect, I'd say, okay, if you want to talk about characteristics of people that make them more prone to committing crime, the actual thing there is men ages like 15 to 25. That's like one of the biggest predictors of criminality. Like young men, regardless of race, right? But notice how you're not really talking about that. You're focusing on the race thing for some reason. And why are people saying you follow a kid?
I have no idea.
Okay.
He follows a kid. What does that even mean?
I'm trying to... Okay, Colby, stop spamming, though.
Yeah, I have no idea what that even means.
Look, I don't know how to look. I'm on the... Can someone check this for me? I don't know what...
Yeah, we're gonna have to just
Can someone
By the
check
way,
for
Adam,
me?
great conversation. This is cool. Dialogue is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Could be his kid. Yeah, that's why I don't want to just jump on that. Or like a nephew or niece or something. Hey, Haldy.
It's me again. Okay, before you kick me, I have a question.
Are you like a... How old are you, dude?
21 backwards.
Yeah, no. That's not happening. Man, sometimes you try to reason with people who like present themselves in a very polite way, and you think because they're polite and they're like they conduct themselves normally in social settings that they're gonna be that you can reason with them. You can't all the time. Oftentimes you can't, as you've seen. But hold on. If you guys are enjoying the live, by the way, make sure double tapping the screen, following above. If you support what I do, my Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo are all in the link tree in my bio. And subscribe on YouTube as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Nah. See, Deporter supporter, I know you're that same kid. Because you're using the same account to request twice now. So nah, I'm gonna decline your guest request. Sorry about that. We're going to watch the Jack Smith indictment.
That he is not authorized to...
From now on, the new rule is if you want to debate me, you have to let me know in the chat specifically what topic you want to debate me on. Before I let you on.
Information that is prohibited by law or courts, including that which is subject to Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E. It is our understanding from communications with the committee and the Justice Department that DOJ is interpreting a matter under Rule 6E to be limited to the inner workings of the grand jury. On a call with committee staff and with the Department of Justice on December 11th to discuss the scope and application of grand jury secrecy requirements, Assistant Attorney General Patrick Davis agreed with Mr. Castor's statement that based on DOJ's authorization letter and its interpretation of Rule 6E, it would be virtually impossible for DOJ to prosecute Mr. Smith for violating grand jury secrecy restrictions.
Oh, by the way, the entire second volume of the entire second volume of Jack Smith's work, DOJ is not letting him release it. The funny thing is, how much incriminating information on Trump do you think that the Trump DOJ has? Whether it's the Epstein file stuff or whether it's the Jack Smith stuff. The people that are like the most loyal to Trump probably know the most about the extent of his criminality. It's so gross. Like, these people need to face consequences at some point. There we go. Okay.
According to the Justice Department, discussion of Volume 2 of the Special Counsel's report and any information or conclusions in Volume 2 or in drafts thereof is specifically prohibited by Judge Cannon's January 21st, 2025 order. This morning,
Judge Cannon is a joke, by the way. Judge Cannon is a Trump appointee, I believe, in Florida, who had dropped the classified documents case against Trump on procedural grounds, even though I think they were going to bring it back anyways because they were going to appeal her dropping it. Let me tell you how stupid her reasoning was. There's this thing at the DOJ called a special counsel, which is where when they want to remove the bias of like people who work for the president, they'll bring in like an outside prosecutor or investigator. This is what Robert Mueller was. This is what Robert Hur was. This is what Jack Smith was. These are people that are appointed by the Attorney General, where the Attorney General says, hey, I might have a conflict of interest here. I'm going to bring in this special counsel. Hence Jack Smith being brought in by Merrick Garland. And Eileen Cannon dismisses. She says, oh, this case is not valid because Jack Smith was appointed unconstitutionally. Oh, what do you mean? She says the issue is that Jack Smith wasn't appointed by Joe Biden. Newsflash, the entire purpose of appointing Jack Smith is that when they're indicting Donald Trump, they want someone who's not appointed by Biden to eliminate the conflict of interest, which is something you'd think MAGA would say, hey, thanks, guys. But no, even when you do the thing that they claim you should do, they're like, oh, this is a reason to toss out your case in court. So Eileen Cannon is a joke. And I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up being a Supreme Court nominee under Trump's second term because she is fully compromised. That was no judge has ever said something like that before. I've never seen this argument that a special counsel can be dismissed because they're special counsel, and then you're going to turn around and, oh my God, you know what we need to watch? This J.D. Vance press conference has led me to a certain conclusion.
I'll take some questions.
Which, here's the hot take of the day, okay? Here's the hot take of the day. Maybe it's not a hot take. I want Donald Trump to live throughout his entire second term. I want Donald Trump to live throughout his entire second term. I very strongly want that because Donald Trump is the only thing right now standing between us and a J.D. Vance presidency. And a J.D. Vance presidency is a very scary thought. Ultimately, Trump's stupidity and his cognitive decline is our saving grace. Because just a little explanation on how the Trump administration works in case it's not clear. Donald Trump always makes the final call. Like, the final order always comes from him. Now, the people that work for him, the Stephen Millers, the Marco Rubios, they know how to manipulate Trump, where they glaze him and then they massage their own ideologies and their own ideas into his head. And then they basically have to, the goal for anyone in Trump's cabinet is, I have to make Trump act on what I want and convince him it's his own idea. And that he's super awesome and super cool and super epic for doing it, right? So about 80% of the time, Trump's cabinet, these far-right extremists, are able to get Trump to choose to do crazy far-right extremist stuff. But every once in a while, you're reminded that the Stephen Millers and the Marco Rubios and the Russ Voughts, they actually don't get to make the final call. And they're lucky enough that Trump ends up siding with them most of the time. But there's always the best example of this is when Mamdani came to the White House. The entire American right wing, everyone in Trump's cabinet, OAN, Newsmax, Fox News, they were all prepared for Zelensky Part 2. Now they act like it was a masterstroke. Trump manipulated him. They all wanted Trump to shout at Mamdani in the Oval Office. They're prepared for that. They all primed him for that. They all told him, sir, assert yourself. But then here's where you're reminded that ultimately, actually, Trump makes the final call because he's enamored with Mamdani and he's like, I think this guy's awesome. I think he's going to do a great job. And there was reporting coming out that his entire cabinet's jaw dropped when this happened. And Eric, I'm pretty sure you're the same little kid who screams. You're using the same accounts. His entire cabinet was shocked. And if you spam, you're going to get muted or blocked, by the way. Mods, if you keep spamming, you can mute him. Again, it's so insane. it always leaks. When Trump does his most unhinged stuff, there's always a following leak that's like White House staff shocked by Trump's Truth Social post or by Trump's cordial meeting with Mamdani. Do you think anyone in the Trump administration wanted the Mamdani meeting to go like that? So my point being that those little flashes in the pan with the Mamdani thing, or here's another amazing example, by the way, when the shooting of Renee Good happened, that exact same day, the New York Times was interviewing Trump in the Oval Office. And they asked Trump about the shooting, and Trump gives them a recounting of the shooting, which to me implies that he had never seen the video when he said this. He said, she brutally and savagely, she ran over this officer. It was very clearly an agitator or whatever. And the New York Times people are like, sir, have you seen this video? Like, that's obviously not what happens, right? And then one of Trump's advisors walks in with a laptop and just hold it like this and play the video. And as soon as Trump watches the video of the Renee Good shooting with the New York Times reporters, he immediately shifts his tone from this is like a terrorist to like, listen, at the end of the day, it was a horrible thing that happened, a tragic thing that happened. I just wish it never happened overall. That's an example of the fact that I think that a lot of people that work for Trump are only giving him information that is conducive to him acting in their interests. Does that make sense? All of the people that Trump relies on for information and analysis and advice, they all have very, very strong agendas, and they only feed him the information that is going to push him to act on those agendas. And anytime he gets actual information, you see that he's actually not an ideological person. He's just a narcissist who's willing to commit crimes in pursuit of narcissism, which is why Mamdani charms him. And he's like, oh, you said you want to increase housing supply? I love development in New York. Like, Mamdani meets him and he's like, listen, you love building in New York. I want to build a lot more houses in New York. Come on, dude. And I guarantee you, leading up to that, the only impression that Trump had of Mamdani was through Truth Social and through Twitter and through his advisors telling him what Mamdani is and what he thinks and what he says. And the second he's confronted with the unfiltered reality, he's like, oh, I'm still unhinged and crazy, but I'm not a J.D. Vance. I'm not a Kristi Noem. I'm not a Stephen Miller. And everyone who's saying cope just doesn't understand anything about Donald Trump. Well, one thing you also notice is that no one knows less about Donald Trump than Trump supporters. Any example you bring up of like, what about when Trump did this? Oh, I haven't heard of that one, actually. I haven't gotten a chance to read about that one, actually. Oh, what's that? I don't know what that is. Yeah, if you don't know anything about what's going on, then you're going to think that you have it all figured out, for sure. Can we get some W's in the chat from Paul for the $1 on PayPal? W's for Paul in the chat. Carl says, let people up. Is Carl in the chat? Okay, Carl can hop on. Hey, how old are you? It is my live. Do you support Trump? Do you support Trump? Okay. Hold on. Do me a favor. I want to switch the scene to my debate scene because I can't switch scenes while someone's in the guest box, but just hop back in the request and I'll let you back up in a second. Okay. There we go. This is if anyone here works on like TikTok live studio development team, make it so that I can switch between screen share and my debate scene while there's still a guest in the box. Okay, pick a prompt, any prompt, and we can debate. Up to you. Okay. Based. Would you say like uniquely corrupt? I mean unique in the scale of the corruption. Okay, then we should debate this first one. We don't agree. It does matter. When someone's net worth is doubling in like less than a year because they're president and they're making billion-dollar deals with the presidency, I think it does matter, yeah. You can chuckle about it if you want, but... Okay, explain why does the World Liberty Financial deal with the AI chips and the pardon not matter?
Dude, what?
Yeah, you don't even know what it is, of course.
Yeah, why would I know that? Dude?
Why would you
This
know
is your
about
fucking
Trump?
job.
Hold on. Well,
This is your job.
You're
right?
here
So you wanna do
challenging me on how
research.
good I am at my job by wanting to debate me.
No,
and you
but
don't-
I
haven't
told
done
you
your
I didn't
homework.
want to talk about the corruption part, and you noticed that. You're like, yes, so we have to
Well,
latch
no,
on.
I
because
clarified your
definitely have
position,
enough on
and
this
we
one.
actually disagree on the
You're
corruption.
just being a child.
We disagree on the corruption, so I'd like
Hardly.
to debate the corruption.
Hardly.
Why do you want to run from this? If
that
we
wasn't a
disagree
part
on
of your
it,
prompt.
yeah, the
No, because
prompt-
I had more that I wanted to say, but we could get back to this. But I did have more I wanted
but
to
it's
say. about the
weird
rest
that
of
you
it.
don't want to stick on this.
Dude, because that's because I fucking told you because I kind of thought I agreed with you.
No,
right?
but we actually don't
Just-
agree
You
at
want
all.
to say he's uniquely corrupt? It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, so we actually don't agree whatsoever because everyone likes to do this cope where they're like, listen, all politicians are corrupt. So what? No, Trump's scale of corruption is unique. That's my entire issue.
No, because he's made deals
Private
for
deals
what
that
exactly?
enrich
How is it
himself.
corruption?
You want examples?
How is that, dude? Yes.
Okay.
Literally, how does that even matter?
Trump coin, where if the top buyers get to go to the White House,
That doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
Irrelevant. Nice try.
Okay, so you're going to say the corruption doesn't
That's
matter.
irrelevant.
That's not a debate on
That's
whether
not
it's corruption.
That's
You're just
not
saying you don't
fucking
care about the
corruption.
corruption.
You're so lost. You're a child.
You can be
No, that's not
smug and like
corruption.
flip it and stuff. It is not
Yeah,
actually
that's
making
not
an argument.
corruption. That is not fucking
Selling a
corruption.
private
You're just
asset,
lost.
selling a private asset, which people who buy the asset get to come into government buildings as a reward, is not corruption. Explain how that would work.
Get to covering? No, dude. Them walking in there means fucking nothing.
You're
You know
aware
it
that
doesn't.
they were offered White House tours, right? Like when Trump coin was announced, one of the perks
Oh
of
my
being a top
god!
holder was
They got
White
a
House
tour. This is what you want to talk about? You're
Yeah,
such
you can
a joke.
you can do like a weird tone of
What
voice.
else you got? What else do you got?
I mean, hold on. Why are you okay with
That's
like Chinese
absurdly
billionaires
cringe.
coming to the United States on the dime of the president?
Doesn't matter.
So you don't care
Why
about like
the fuck
national
would that
security
matter?
or conflict of interest?
What? Because they're are you xenophobic? What is your fucking problem? They can't come here. They
When
can't
did-
come in
where
the
did
fucking
xenophobia-
White House.
hold on, where did xenophobia?
Are you
come from?
lost, dude? Are you actually?
It seems like
have you lost the
It
plot?
seems like you may have.
How is that corruption? You're fucking out of it, dude.
How is it
If you wanted to
corruption?
say like the
Guys,
jet
just
that
to be
was
clear,
gifted to him,
just to be clear,
sure, that's a better example, right?
it's another example. I was going to list
But
all
okay,
of them.
so
There's
stop
multiple.
talking about people walking in the White
Well, hold
House.
on.
Who fucking
It's-
cares?
Well, you don't care about the
That's
corruption.
not corruption.
Doesn't make it not
That
corruption.
isn't fucking corruption, dude. You're a joke.
Okay, I just want to clarify. So if
Get
someone
to a pressing issue.
Let me just finish.
Get to a pressing
Let me
issue.
just finish.
Yes,
I just
okay.
want to clarify your opinion on corruption. If someone in public office is selling a private asset to anonymous buyers of the private asset, enriching themselves publicly using the platform of the presidency, that is not corruption. I just want to clarify. We can move
So,
on if you
I
think
mean,
that's not corruption.
I don't like how you characterize that because I
accurately
think that he was
characterized it.
okay. You want to keep interrupting me?
If you lie, then yeah. But go ahead.
No, it isn't. I said I don't. That's my opinion. You're fucking lost. I'm lying about my opinion. How
Wait,
about you
so-
just fucking
Wait,
shut
did
your
I
mouth
characterize
and listen
it
for half a
accurately
second?
and you think that doesn't matter? Or
I
did
said
I
I
characterize
don't
it
like
inaccurately?
the way you characterize
Sure,
it.
what's
No.
the issue with my characterization then?
Because the whole meme coin thing,
Yeah.
that's like a business opportunity, and he told people about it. And I think that that's very clever that he's doing that for people. And that's like it's his own thing.
You just defined corruption and said that corruption is clever. I think this is the disconnect.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't, dude.
So you're okay with people using public office to
having a
privately
meme
enrich
coin.
themselves?
Dude, what do you mean privately enrich themselves? Like, dude, you're so fucking lost.
I
Because
hate
he
to say
knows how
this,
to make
you're like
money.
projecting
No,
hard
no,
right
it
now.
has
You've asked me like
nothing to
30
do with
times if I'm
corruption.
lost, and I've been asking
What
you the
would
same
be
question.
what would be corruption to me is like what Biden was doing with his family in getting them, positions like he did in Ukraine with his son.
He gave
And,
him that position.
Like what?
Biden gave him that position. Really?
In Ukraine.
First, I just
Is that
wanna-
what you're saying?
First, I just want to be clear. I'd love to talk to you
no,
about Burisma.
it's about the deals that
I'd
he
love
was.
to talk to you about Burisma. I first just want to
I
clarify.
know you would love to. That's why I didn't care
I
to.
first just
That's why I
wanna-
didn't care to talk about
I-
this because
I
they all
first-
fucking do it.
Except
Like,
no,
I don't know what
you
you're- I
probably
know
have
you-
bought into like
you
the
got the
right wing.
TDS,
You
but-
probably. It seems like you have Trump devotion
Yeah, I mean,
syndrome.
you can keep thinking that.
You have TDS. You have
You can keep
actual.
thinking that.
You have actual Trump devotion syndrome. So you can talk about. You've been projecting
No,
this
it's
whole
a
time.
joke, buddy.
asking
No
me
one
if
cares
I'm
about
lost.
the meme coin.
You don't care about the meme.
No,
coin.
you clearly are.
You don't care
Dude,
about the
nobody
meme
cares.
coin.
Okay, dude, it doesn't matter. It's not corruption.
No, because you don't care about corruption. You say no.
It's not
difference is
corruption. You're
when
fucking
someone-
lost. This is what I mean.
Okay.
It's so circular. Like you can't get past.
Yes, you are
just
being
the meme
extremely
coin. How about
circular.
you bring up something?
I agree.
present?
You're being circular. I just want to clarify. So you're saying
Look at
that to use
You're saying
public
I'm
office.
projecting. This is cute,
I'm
bro.
clarifying.
Like you're not as smart as you
I'm
think
clarifying
you
your
are.
position.
Just because you
I'm
read a
clarifying
lot,
your
like,
position.
It's okay.
If you disagree with how I
Like,
characterize
you're
it,
not that clever.
I'm clarifying your position.
You didn't even let me get that out.
I'm
You didn't even let me
clarifying-
get that out, so you
I'm
don't even know what the fuck I have
I'm
to say about it.
clarifying my understanding of your position. Once I finish talking, if you disagree with my characterization, you can explain why it's wrong. Is it your position
Dude,
that
you didn't even
using-
let me fucking
Is it
explain
your
why.
position that using public office
hilarious.
to privately enrich yourself is corrupt? Go ahead. Okay, we have different definitions of corruption, and then you have an unhinged definition that like no one else would use. But okay. Like Jimmy Carter sold his fucking peanut farm to become president, but okay. Okay, so I think we can agree that if you define corruption as not being corruption, then Trump's not corrupt. Okay. Do you know how much he's made from crypto over the last year? You don't even care, do you? Okay, see, we're doing whataboutisms. Yeah, 20. We're comparing the president of the United States to like a random 20-year-old. Okay. And I'm lost.
It literally doesn't matter.
You have to explain why it wouldn't matter.
Did he pull the rug? Did he pull the rug?
That's not what I'm accusing him of.
Oh my goodness. It's not fucking corrupt then, you dumbass. You
can
dumbass.
just-
You can't get
you're
that through your
crashing
brain.
Out. You're crashing out.
No, you're stupid.
I
You're
can
stupid.
explain why
You
that's.
Bring up another
okay, you're
example.
just crashing out more now. Okay.
Just bring up another example. It's okay. You can do
I
it.
can explain why it's bad. Do you know what a conflict of
Okay, we're
interest
still
is?
on the meme coin, I guess.
Yes. You know what a conflict of interest is?
Sure.
Can you explain what that is?
How about you, since you're so smart?
I'm not.
How about you
I'm
just
not
lay it
saying
out,
it in a
'cause you know
cocky way.
everything.
I just want to make
It's
sure
your
we have the
fucking
same
argument.
definition.
I'm not going to explain your own
well,
argument.
hold on. I should
dipshit.
have asked you
Explain
before.
your argument.
I'm asking you to explain a term that I use
Buddy,
in my argument.
Buddy, how about you fucking
You
say
know what
your
a
argument?
premise is? I want to make sure we agree on a premise before I make my argument.
How about you say it? Stop asking
How
me
about I
questions.
first
about it.
ensure we agree on the premise?
What is
Because
your
our
fucking
disagreement with the
premise?
corruption thing is the premise of how do you define corruption, right?
Buddy, fucking get to it. You're not, dude. You think you're so fucking smart? It's absolutely.
You have
hilarious.
been the only one to use the word
This is
smart
why.
in this conversation.
This is why you get
I've
rage
never claimed
baited
that.
so easily, dude.
It's just that I care about America and you laugh about
Dude,
corruption.
it's
so
so
there's a difference
obvious.
between
It's
who
so
puts America
obvious what
first.
you're doing, bro. You can't even get through a conversation, dude. Just fucking say what you want to say. Holy shit.
And you'll actually address it, or you're just gonna laugh and say, "I don't care." Are you gonna address it?
How about you spit it the fuck out? You're wasting my time,
I just want to make sure you address it.
dude. You're so feminine. It's crazy.
Uh,
Like it's all Democrats now. Like this is all they can fucking
You're
do. They
hiding
just
behind
whine
a profile
and
picture,
bitch.
uh,
Hiding,
using,
dumbass.
Using feminine as like
Hiding?
an insult.
I'm
but-
hiding. I'm hiding. Am I
Yeah, and
hiding?
You're crashing out.
You
I'm
don't
not
know
even,
me.
I'm not
You-
even
you
trying to
clearly
rage
don't
bait
fucking
you.
know me.
I'm not even trying
No,
to
you're
rage
just an
bait you when you're
idiot.
mad.
I'm gonna tell it like it is, buddy. You're a fucking dumbass.
Okay,
So
cool.
just like, do you want to say
So
something?
my issue is that when the president can
because
accept,
I'm not fucking hiding. I'm right here.
cool. So my issue is when the president can accept large sums of money from anonymous donors, and that might influence the decisions he makes as president. That's a conflict
Not
of
a
interest.
donor, you fucking dumbass. They're donations, you fucking idiot.
You want to explain how there's no?
It's a
conflict of interest
utility.
there?
Are you fucking
It's a
retarded?
utility. Okay, let's calm down with using
Yeah,
slurs.
dumbass. No, you're literally fucking retarded. I don't care. Your whole
Okay? You're gonna-
platform is
Are you
bullshit.
trying to get the live taken down? Because then you're getting kicked.
Is that what you think?
If you're saying that
I'm
word, you're
literally
gonna
telling
get my
you, you're
live
fucking
taken.
retarded.
You're gonna
You're
get.
fucking retarded.
Okay.
You're fucking retarded.
Okay.
Do you like?
See, he's crashing out. These people are so fragile. And notice how insecure he was about his own intelligence and his own masculinity. Because not once did I mention masculinity or like, I'm so smart and you're so dumb. He just keeps bringing up, oh, you think you're so smart. Oh, you're so feminine. Oh, you've lost the plot. It's like he's fully projecting his own insecurities. And then he just tries to get the life taken out at the end because he's... I wasn't even trying to rage bait that guy, bro. I was literally trying to clarify his position in the argument, and he started crying. That's crazy. I don't know if he's still here, bro. Get a hobby or get a therapist or something. Holy shit. You are... For someone who's obsessed with, like, intelligence and alpha and feminine, like, looking feminine... You just were crying. Like, you didn't even address anything. And this is a new argument I've seen, is like, if we change the definition of corruption, then Trump's not corrupt. True, yeah. If we change the definition of criminality, then Trump's not a criminal. I never thought of that. Wow. Okay. And there's no more guest requests. He never gave a definition. He just said corruption is things that he says are corrupt, I guess. Well, back to this JD Vance thing.
I want to make just one final observation.
Oh man, is the screen share frozen? So my point being, in the entire spiel from before that man so rudely interrupted us, I will say that will make for a beautiful YouTube clip. Trump supporter with TDS crashes out and runs away. Or I don't know, something. Thank you for that. Bro is rage baiting himself. So the point I was making earlier is, I want Trump to serve the remainder of his second term because, dude, honestly, even if he's impeached and convicted, wouldn't JD Vance become president? And I guess they could just impeach and convict JD Vance, but then is it Mike Johnson? Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, so maybe just let him finish, guys. Let him, because what's next down the line is kind of scary. Whether it's like resignation, or he passes away to natural causes, or he's removed from office. Oh. Will you ever bet money on presidential elections ever again after you lost so much money last time? Yeah. Yeah. Because here's the thing. I put my money where my mouth is, and then if I'm wrong, I admit the next day that I'm wrong, and then I evaluate why I was wrong. A lot of these MAGA people, like, they will die on every hill that they don't need to die on. So, I mean, yeah, if I'm confident in someone, and I feel like I sometimes do impulsive, risky things. So if I feel like betting on an election on Kalshi, maybe I will. Okay. I would never tell someone else to follow in my footsteps. But here's the thing, right? At the very least, when I'm like betting on elections and stuff, you know that I believe what I'm saying. So if I'm wrong, it's not because I'm like lying to you or misleading you, it's just that I was wrong. A lot of the other people in the MAGA world, if you ask them to bet on like, did Trump actually commit XYZ crime, they will say Trump didn't do it, but they would never bet on it because they know they're lying, right? So rather have someone who's honest and sometimes wrong than someone who is never wrong because they make unfalsifiable statements. I don't know, something is not a sign of stupidity, it's a sign of intelligence. What do you mean something? What is your biggest insecurity? I don't know. None. Flawless. Just me making that offhanded remark, by the way. The next Trump supporter op on here is going to be like, I'm so sick. You liberals think you're so much better than us and you're so full of yourself. Shut up, bro. Bro, can someone explain to me why OBS is so dog shit? Does anyone have an explanation for why OBS sucks so bad that I need to refresh my screen capture and audio capture every 2 minutes?
Kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it.
Oh, and now it's frozen on TikTok. Cool.
Outrage after ICE officer kills.
I'm going to be right back. Sit tight. Give me 1 second. The amount of times my dog barks to leave my room and I let her out of my room and the next thing she's doing is barking to get let back, I don't understand.
I'll take some questions, but I want to make just one final observation here. When I was actually walking out here, somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer.
She wants me. No, dude, no. She just tweaks out sometimes. She literally is barking to come back in. Oh, okay.
Kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally because this was an attack.
This is disgusting. This is so the fact that he is so adamant in saying that this was some kind of terror attack and this was like an intentional attack on ICE officers, and not just saying that, but then going one level beyond and saying that any media that accurately reports this murder is like an enemy of the people.
On federal law enforcement, this was an attack on law and order.
Like, y'all, imagine if this guy was president.
Media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day.
JD Vance is such a pathetic
What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about
he's sensitive. You'd think maybe if someone was dragged by a car, they shouldn't be doing fucking field work where there are plenty of cars around, dumbass. Oh, poor little officer. Leave then, bro. What?
ramming him
this
with
officer, he didn't have his morning coffee and he didn't have his morning smoke break, so hey man, you got to be extra obedient to him.
What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement.
There are so many things to respond to with this, but I don't want to hear from the people that cheered on interfering with the peaceful transfer of power in 2020 and 2021 talk about interfering with like lawful action. I don't want to hear it. Just stop. You don't give a fuck. And you care about officers all of a sudden. You guys just pardoned a bunch of people that beat up police officers, that threatened to kill officers. Donald Trump has pardoned a woman. I need to find her name. I have it written down in Google Docs. Donald Trump has pardoned a woman who threatened to kill an FBI agent, who made death threats against an FBI agent. Even the argument that they make is bullshit. They don't even adhere to their own bullshit arguments. This is called criminalizing dissent, by the way. When you pretend like Frozen again? OBS and TikTok Live Studio have rage baited me more than anyone I've ever debated on TikTok. I lost my train of thought. Let's just watch. Oh, and the Mac OS. Bro, this has happened 10 times.
Have been working.
I'll say it again. If anyone here can DM me with a solution to why on OBS my macOS screen capture and my macOS audio capture randomly time out and I have to go into properties and refresh them, and then same thing happens on TikTok Live Studio, if someone can just DM me explaining why that's the case and it works, I will Cash App you $20. I will pay you. This is so fucking annoying.
Tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the
Do you know / talk to Pickles? I feel like I've heard of Pickles, but I've never really interacted with Pickles.
People elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back.
It is so abundantly clear in the video made by the ICE officer on his phone that she was turning away from him. That is blatantly obvious before he shoots her. And just by the way, if you watch the full longer video, I saw an amazing video on this. I've been thinking about this. I think I mentioned in my previous live. Number one, as she is reversing, he is already reaching for his gun. As she is reversing, his hand is already on his gun. And then secondly, he is first holding the phone with his right hand to record. And the gun is on the right side, like on holster on the right side of his hip. He starts holding the phone with his left hand all of a sudden, as soon as he comes back to the front of the car. This man was annoyed at these women, and he was trying to... This is my read of the situation. I do want to see a full investigation to get more context, but as things stand, my current read of the situation is this man, his ego was hurt by what these women were saying to him, and he was trying to manufacture a situation where he'd have plausible deniability to say this was self-defense. He's like, if I just kind of put myself in the way of the car and just do this, it's like, dude, come on.
He defended himself.
And Wade is correct. We probably will not see a full investigation or a fair investigation, because the only way this could be done fairly is if Minnesota law enforcement did this. If state and local police in Minnesota and like Minneapolis did this. But it seems like the FBI is not going to cooperate with them or share any evidence with them. Although I don't know if they need that or not. Maybe they have enough eyewitnesses and like resources locally and statewide that could help with that. But here's what's going to happen. Can you imagine that this ICE officer is indicted on like second-degree murder, whatever the charge would be, and let's even say he doesn't show up and he's convicted and everything? They're just never going to send him back to Minnesota. It's going to become like a mosaic of... Like, rule of law has been dead, but holy like, they're just going to deploy him to, like, a red state or something, right? They're just never going to let him go back to Minnesota. The fact that you can foresee the federal government providing refuge to someone convicted of murder by, like, a state government or, like, a state court or a local court is insane. But, yeah, this man's never going to face justice.
He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis.
And no, I think he can be indicted by like Minnesota police or Minneapolis, like on the state and local level rather, by prosecutors on the state and local level. The feds are never going to indict him, yeah. And the thing is, like, with how the jurisdiction would work, or he gets federal charges, I don't think he's going to get federal charges, dude. It doesn't matter what the FBI investigation turns up. Trump's just going to recommend to Bondi or Blanche or whoever is the like associate AG under Blanche for this specific investigation that like don't press charges or like don't indict or whatever. Yeah. Oh my God, the screen froze again. Okay. This makes no sense. The machine that I'm running this on is like a very powerful, like this can't be a hardware thing. This has to be some kind of software setting.
Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I wanted to read a quote from Tim Walz earlier today. He said, when things looked bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held the line for the nation on July 3rd, 1863, and I think we may be in that moment now. Can you comment on his rhetoric and Mayor Jacob Frey and whether they want to see unrest in Minneapolis?
Well, that's very tough rhetoric from a guy who just quit because his fraudulent activities have been uncovered. Look, Tim Walz is a joke. His entire administration.
The man who sold out his entire soul to become close to power is calling other people a joke. The man who the most popular meme about him is that he has sex with couches. This man is calling other people a joke. The man who is texting in Signal group chats with other cabinet officials saying, "Hey guys, been awfully quiet lately. Any updates?" Have people seen this screenshot of JD Vance? I need to find this, because JD Vance calling anyone a joke is a joke. This is the last person who can call someone a joke. I need to find this. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? If anyone has like the link to it. Oh yeah, okay. This was in Signalgate. While other officials were reportedly changing their display names or setting messages to disappear to cover their tracks, JD Vance, he sends a message in some strategic planning group chat in Signal where all the cabinet officials are like planning out the Houthi strikes and like their how they want to protect like certain shipping lanes in the ocean, and the chat's been dead for a bit, right? And JD Vance texts, I'm quoting, "This chat's kind of dead. Anything going on?" at 2:26 a.m. This is the equivalent of like a "you up" text. And it's so funny because you know damn well all these cabinet people just made a different group chat without JD Vance in it. Like, this is the guy they send out to do the work that no one else wants to do. Like, Trump does not want to really defend this ICE shooting thingy. He at least has the political instincts to be like, I'm not going to really put my face in front of a camera and say this. So, like, hey, JD, we got a job for you, buddy. Finally, come back from Disneyland.
A joke. The idea that he's some sort of freedom fighter, he's not. He's a guy who has enabled fraud and maybe, in fact, has participated in fraud. That's
the fraud that started under Trump's first administration from the CARES Act funds. I don't know if everyone remembers. We had how many stimulus bills passed? 2 or 3? Am I misremembering? I need to look this up. Maybe it's 4. I think it's 2 or 3. I think it's 3. How many COVID stimulus bills passed? 3. Okay, CARES Act, the appropriations. Okay, because there was a $1,200 checks under Trump, right? And there was a $600 checks, and then there was a $1,400 under Biden. So there's 3 stimulus bills. 2 of those were passed under Donald Trump. So, yes, and Donald Trump has pardoned people who were convicted of fucking fraud. So, and Donald Trump is the biggest fraudster in maybe American history. I mean, he did criminal fraud to try to do a coup, right? He was indicted for defrauding the United States and conspiracy against voting rights when he tried to change. These people have the gall to talk about fraud and talk about protecting police officers and talk about law and order and talk about being a loser and talk about being weak and pathetic when that's everything that they are.
New assistant attorney general position is going to find out. I don't care what Tim Walz says. I care about getting to the bottom.
Also, what a little... Why didn't you were all smiles and politeness when you debated Tim Walz face to face. Why didn't you call him a joke to his face? And it's frozen again on YouTube. Cool. It's so crazy how the Minnesota fraud started under Trump's first term, and then the investigations and the prosecutions started under Biden. And now Trump comes back in and he says the Democrats caused the fraud and then took no action on it, when it is literally the other way around.
This is going to stoke the fire against ICE agents. We're talking about ICE agents right now, being concerned about them. What, if anything, is the administration going to do to make sure these folks are protected during these protests? But also, should DHS sort of revisit their procedures here? I mean, nobody wants to see an American killed. Are there changes that need to be made to make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
Look, first of all, of course, nobody wants an American citizen to be killed. This is absolutely a tragedy. But it's a tragedy of the making of the far left. They have radicalized a very small segment of the population, taught them that ICE agents...
The playbook is so obvious. They do increasingly more authoritarian stuff, increasingly more chaotic stuff, and then any legitimate criticism or pushback is labeled terrorism and domestic extremism and radicalism. And then that way you've effectively criminalized dissent. And if anyone here has read NSPM 7, the big plan for 2026 is criminalizing dissent. That's clearly their agenda for this year. So, new year, new Trump, I guess. Last year, I mean, it was a little bit more haphazard and all over the place. They're creating new offices in the DOJ. They're starting to invoke NSPM 7. That's the plan. Because here's what's crazy. I don't know if anyone here has read dissent is like disagreement, or people that like argue back. I don't know the dictionary definition, actually. So maybe I should. I'll give you the exact dictionary definition. The expression of opinions at variance with those commonly or officially held. Yeah, so like pushback or whatever. NSPM 7 doesn't just criminalize being violent at a protest. What NSPM 7 says is if there's a protest and there is some kind of violent actor at that protest who is called the principal actor, then anyone who directly or indirectly provided any kind of material support to the principal actor can also be investigated by the DOJ. And it's easy to see how that can get scary. If there's some protest which is 99% peaceful and one crazy person does something violent at that protest and they came with a group of friends, then the friends who gave them the ride just provided material support to a terrorist, according to Trump. Or you could take it further. If some kind of like political organizing group organized like a local Democratic chapter, like some school club or whatever, college Democrats or college progressives, whatever, all of these tangential groups that are like providing transport or saying, let's meet here for the protest, or printing t-shirts or printing signs. If someone's at a protest with an AOC sign in their hand, I support AOC, and they do something violent later on, then the people that printed the signs, the AOC campaign potentially could be investigated. It is so crazy the types of openings they've created to go after people that materially support the principal actor. Read NSPM 7. It's scary stuff. Yes, and what about people that provided support to supporters and further on? There are so many. If you engage with the legal system in bad faith, you can do so much insane shit. It's actually crazy.
Engaging in wide-scale violation of people's rights. What our ICE officers are doing is deporting the millions of criminal aliens that were let in during the Biden administration.
Lies. He's lying. They're going to immigration courts. They're going after non-criminal migrants. They just lie and lie. This is why I don't know how we're going to de-radicalize people, because it's not like there's this one specific lie that MAGA told them that they all believe. There is an entire segment of the population, which I would say is maybe 27 to 30% of the population, that has been living in an alternate reality since like 2017, where all of the media they consume is like, even the memes they consume, like this Nick Shirley kid is kind of like one of these like vlogging type of like investigative YouTubers where it's like they blur the line between cultural figures and political figures. They have created their entire own bizarro world reality where the Daily Wire is making fictional movies and shit and kid shows. Like, they've created an entire different culture that people have lived in and marinated in for like over a decade now. Like, when someone in MAGA comes to me and says, oh, like, but Biden is this and Trump is this and he's awesome, like, I can't just debunk one thing, because that one opinion is built on a decade worth of lies and mischaracterizations and exaggerations and assumptions that undergird their entire thought process, that are now just on the subconscious level, just taken as matter of fact. I don't know how you deprogram someone from that. Like, did anyone see what, who tweeted this? Matt Walsh tweeted this disgusting waste of a human being? I need to find this. Like, I don't know what you... I want to be clear. Some idiot's going to clip this and say he's calling for violence. I'm not calling for violence. But society cannot live like this. Let me find it. I screenshotted it. I think it should be in my... I'm just going to read verbatim what Matt Walsh said. This is not me, okay? I want to clarify. I'm reading verbatim what Matt Walsh said. And I quote, This lesbian agitator gave her life to protect 68 IQ Somali scammers who couldn't give less of a shit about her. The most disgraceful and humiliating end a person could possibly meet. I don't know how to put into words how like vile this statement is. Like how that is not the type of person that can be in our society. And I'm not saying hurt them or whatever, but like something needs to be. This is like antisocial degenerate. A lot of the words these people use for others really apply to them. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Like the level of depravity and how twisted and dark and like these are the same people that call everything like satanic and stuff. Like if this isn't demonic and satanic, I don't know what is.
Join me on this. Let's be honest about the fact that we have way too many illegal aliens in this country. Our ICE officers should be supported in doing their job. You're trying to actually marshal the far left lunatic fringe to engage in doxing, to try to make it impossible for them to enforce the law, and in some cases actually to engage in acts of domestic terrorism against our law enforcement officers. When you talk about different plans, different protocols, different policies, I forget exactly how you asked the question. Here's the simple fact. What we're going to do is make it easier for the American People's Administration to enforce the American People's law. And that means that Democrats have to stop rallying the mob against legitimate law enforcement operations. And that means that we are going to get tougher. And that's what this AAG position is about. We're going to get tougher at the people who are defrauding the United States by inciting.
Yes. Aren't we all sick of people who are defrauding the United States, guys? I'm sick of people who are defrauding the United States, everyone. I am just so tired. I'm so tired of people that defraud the... Yes, JD Vance, I agree. We should be cracking down on people who defraud the United States. Who defraud the United States. Like anyone who's like fighting against the United States to like, I don't know, defraud them, to conspire to defraud them. You can't even make this shit up, bro.
Violence against our law enforcement officers. That's one of the things that we're going to do. We've already started that work at the Department of Justice, but we're going to keep on doing it, and this new AAG position is going to kick that into high gear.
Vice President Vance, you just suggested that this woman who was killed, Renee Good, is part of a broader left-wing network. Who do you think is behind this broader left-wing network?
Well, it's one of the things we're going to have to figure out, but here's the way that I put.
So you don't know what the left-wing network really is. You just assume that if someone publicly disagrees with you guys, that they're part of some conspiracy. No, actually, no. Vance doesn't believe this. Vance knows he's lying. Vance is like a scummy person who just will say anything he needs to say to get into power. So Vance knows he's lying.
When somebody throws a brick at an ICE agent, or somebody tries to run over an ICE agent, who paid for the brick? And who told protesters to show up and engage in violent activity against our law enforcement officers?
See, this is the NSPM7 language. Someone's going to say, okay, guys, let's do a No Kings protest. Everyone meet here. And then one crazy person shows up to the No Kings protest and starts doing violent stuff. Now, everyone else who organized what they intended to be a peaceful protest is under DOJ investigation. And what does that do if that happens over and over again? It silences dissent. People become scared to protest. That's the entire point.
You see, just with this most recent terrible...
Her wife called her, bro. He thinks there's some... They simultaneously say that Joe Biden is like cognitively incapable of even speaking English, or like they said like Joe Biden's not even consciously aware, but also the Biden cabal is like scheming and planning things, pulling the strings behind the scenes. Okay. I guess those are congruent. They're going to say it's all the deep state at the end of the day, even though Trump... The deep state is the Trump administration, by the way. They literally kind of created a deep state. Like, every caricature they gave of, like, bureaucrats is what they've turned bureaucrats into, who answer directly to the president, have, like, no more independence anymore. Like, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the level of scandal it would be if it just leaked that the president was even communicating with high-ranking people at the DOJ about active investigations. Just that, the standard is like in hell right now. If it came out that like Obama was talking to his attorney general about like active investigations, just talking about them, asking questions, saying like, oh, what's going on with this investigation, that alone would be treated as like a Watergate level scandal. And now it's like JD Vance can do an announcement like, we're creating a new position at the DOJ that serves at the pleasure of the president, that works in the White House, that's going to investigate Tim Walz. Because we said so, I guess. Okay.
Officers. It's ridiculous, it's preposterous, and part of our investigatory work is getting to the bottom of it. Who's funding it, who's supporting it, who's cheerleading it, and of course if there's illegal activity related to that, we're going to get to the bottom of that and prosecute it where we can.
By the way they silence dissent is, if they can't indict you, doesn't matter. They'll investigate you, they'll call you out publicly, they'll give press conferences calling you a terrorist. Your life's gonna be ruined regardless.
Thank you for taking questions today. Is there a risk with you describing her as a deranged leftist, talking about very specific facts of these?
Great question, because you guys always say that calling Trump a fascist is a risk because it incites violence against him. When you guys call a random like soccer mom like a deranged leftist terrorist, do you think that might incite violence against like people on the left maybe who are just peacefully protesting? Ever considered that, guys?
When an investigation is just beginning, are you preempting a thorough investigation by drawing such...
Great, because also, if there was any sort of active investigation into like a police shooting under Obama or Biden, and they took a side in any way, shape, or form, even passingly took a side or made an offhanded comment, which implied they had taken a side, the entire media and political apparatus would be saying, why are you jumping to conclusions? Let's do an investigation first. These people, before they ever have any evidence of anything, they're on Twitter calling it a radical left conspiracy. When Charlie Kirk was pew-pewed and killed, Nancy Mace, within like 2 minutes of the shooting, is on the steps of Capitol Hill saying the Democrats did this. Like before he's even made it to the hospital, they're blaming the Democrats. If the shoe was on the other foot and Democrats were jumping to such polarizing and partisan conclusions after serious events like this, they would face a lot of... The thing that pisses me off most is the idea that these people are treated unfairly by the mainstream when they are treated... They're treated unfairly and that they're given an advantage. If any Democratic administration behaved in this way, they would all be in jail. Like, they would be fucking hung for that type of shit, bro.
And have you received
Shame on the American media, by the way, for just letting this happen. Because they've become weak. And these are spineless people who let... If you're letting Trump say to you, quiet piggy, you're not very bright, you're very stupid, and you just said like, okay, sir, I understand. Thank you for taking my question. Fuck you. You deserve it then. Because if that was Biden, you'd be like, no, sir, you cannot say that to me, sir. Answer the question, sir.
Beyond the videos we've seen publicly about this individual, her specific acts that has informed your point of view?
Well, first of all, the Department of Justice is going to...
And these people are such fucking crybabies that even when all the mainstream media bends over backwards to appease them and be nice to them and give them a platform and never, ever, 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 ever fact check them, when they fact check a Democrat for blinking in the wrong direction, despite all of that, they still cry that, oh, the media is so unfair to me. Isn't that crazy that even when the media acquiesces to them, when CBS starts just brown-nosing Trump constantly, and all these media companies are like, oh, I don't want them to reject my merger, so I'm just going to do whatever they want. Even when these media companies are so malleable and so spineless, these people are still so totalitarian and so focused on propaganda and so insecure that even the people that are trying to appease them are their enemies and being harsh on them.
To investigate this. The Department of Homeland Security is already investigating this, but the simple fact is, what you see is what you get in this.
True. What you see is what you get, and what you see is a trigger-happy ICE officer who should be in jail. This is what happens when you dumb fucks start hiring people to ICE without proper criminal background checks. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If we have free and fair elections again, big if, and a Democrat ever becomes president again, one of the first things they need to do is not just abolish ICE, full-scale audit of ICE hiring under Trump's second term. Because I guarantee you, if a neutral arbiter and an actual investigator in hindsight looks back at ICE's hiring practices, you know what you're going to find? I promise you, a lot of violent felons, a lot of people who are in the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers or like far-right militia groups or like biker gangs or whatever. It's going to be not necessarily who you'd want in federal law enforcement. I promise you. I guarantee it. They'll never admit that. They'll lie. They'll make stuff up. I promise you. All this ICE recruitment, you think that they're recruiting people who are like of sound mind? Is anyone of sound mind applying to work at ICE right now? It's already selecting for fucking psychos. And then even within that, they're going to pick the most psycho people. So this is what happens. And to be fair, this specific officer, I think, was already working under Biden. But my point being a broader point in that this was reported by ICE. It was a New York Post article. When Trump first came in, there was a lot of chaos happening internally within ICE because all of the old career supervisors and career ICE agents were complaining that, like, why are you guys telling us to stop going after criminals and sending us to, like, random department stores and, like, random public schools and, like, immigration courts? Like, why are you doing this to us? It makes our job harder. Like, typically, we make suspect lists, and then we execute on those suspect lists. And Stephen Miller berated them in early summer, and he was like, stop making suspect lists. Just get people. Run up the numbers. So they start firing these people start resigning, and they start hiring crazy psycho people that are like Trump loyalists into ICE. I mean, there was an ICE officer who was exposed like a few months ago on the job. On his ICE uniform, this guy had a golden pin of Donald Trump's face. Can you imagine? Imagine if federal police had a golden pin of Joe Biden's face on while conducting law enforcement. The hell these people would create on Fox News.
Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe against our law enforcement officers. I think what is clearly happening here, and it's going to keep on happening unless the Democrats wake up and say, you know what, you don't have to agree with our immigration policies. You don't have to agree with what the president or the vice president believe about immigration enforcement. But why don't you take this to the ballot box? Why don't you vote? Why don't you organize?
Organize, like, protests? Organize, like, systematically recording civil rights violations from law enforcement officers? And this is rich coming from you when you said that you would have agreed with Trump's fake elector scheme in 2020. I swear, bro. I'm really... The only reason that I'm not like 100% sure that we won't have a free and fair election again is because the idea of it is so crazy and beyond the pale that part of me is like, okay, there's like no way they'd actually just straight up end democracy, right? Like that's like a little too far. But that's the only cope I have right now because they've said they want to do it. They've drafted up plans to do it, extensive plans to do it. They have the power to do it. So like the intent is there. The means is there, the power is there, the plans are there. I'm just kind of hoping that, like, for the plot reason, I guess, that we're going to have elections again. But I don't really know why that'd be the case, unless they're just that incompetent that doesn't work when they've had 5 years to plan since last time they tried.
What some of them are doing is encouraging people to get violent with our law enforcement officials. It's disgraceful and it's got to stop.
The same people that told us that when Donald Trump said, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore, those same people say that us peacefully protesting ICE is a call to violence. The double standards are not even funny. It's
Just to follow up on that question, and again, thank you for taking questions, Mr. Vice President. There's clearly a lot of emotion in Minnesota, across the country, over this.
Stop being nice to these people. Thank you so much, Mr. No, fuck you, Mr. Vice President. Answer my question.
You're calling Renee Good a deranged leftist. There's been heated rhetoric that we've also heard from officials. What responsibility do you and the president have to diffuse some of the tension that we are seeing play out in Minnesota?
And what this woman is doing, what this reporter is doing, is she's trying to ask a good question, but like softball it. So she's trying to say, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Tensions are high across the board on both sides. But like, do you guys have like a little bit of a responsibility to like not inflame tensions? It's like she's cucking herself so hard as if that's going to make him engage with the question in good faith. I don't know if you've missed the memo. This is not someone who, like, if you're nice enough to them, they'll field tough questions. This man is lying on purpose. He's a bad faith actor. He probably wants you in jail.
Life. I'm not happy that this woman was there at a protest violating the law by interfering with a law enforcement action. I think that we can all recognize that the best way to turn down the temperature is to tell people to take their concerns about immigration policy to the ballot box. Stop.
Just an idea. Maybe another way to turn down the temperature is stop calling random peaceful people terrorists. Stop calling for your opponents to be jailed and hung. Stop pretending like being of Somali descent makes you a criminal. Maybe that's an idea. I don't know. What do I know?
Assaulting and stop inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's the best way to take down the temperature. And we're not going to give in to terrorism on this. And that's exactly what's happened.
They pardoned terrorists on their first day in office.
People trying to antagonize, to commit acts of violence, they throw bricks at them, sometimes they shoot at them, sometimes they dox them, sometimes they go to their place of residence.
I'm confused. Is he describing how the January 6 people treated Capitol Police? Is that what's happening right now?
And harass their families. This is classic terrorism. And
It's literally what all the Jan 6 people did after Trump pardoned them, is they went into the streets and they started threatening Hakeem Jeffries with death. They started threatening other investigators with death at the DOJ, committing other types of felonies and crimes. But those are patriots, question mark, hostages, right?
Cannot say that.
I want to start using their, here's what we have to do. Instead of calling out their hypocrisy, just use their own tricks against them. So, henceforth, anyone arrested by ICE is a ICE hostage. These are patriots who are hostages. Even if they did something criminal, apparently, we're just gonna now call them hostages. And anytime you say anything critical of the government, it doesn't matter how unhinged it is, as long as you say once at some undisclosed point in time the words peacefully and patriotically, right? Because they point back to Trump's January 6th speech on the Ellipse, where he said, our country's under attack, our constitution's under attack. If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. The fate of our republic is in the hands of Mike Pence and the Republicans. They have to do the right thing and not certify the election. But be peaceful and patriotic. Anyways, moving on to all my grievances. Apparently, if you just once say be peaceful and patriotic, you can say anything after that. So I'm saying it now. If anything ever happens to me, if I'm indicted later, I'm saying it now, that any political action I ever call for, regardless of how I might word it due to my emotional state, what I mean is do it peacefully and patriotically. By the MAGA logic, I can now never be accused of inciting violence no matter what the fuck I say. So let's all start doing that, okay? From now on, anyone detained by ICE is a hostage and a patriot. And the most inflammatory thing you want to say about Trump, just say peacefully and patriotically. And apparently you're good.
When a far left fringe is inciting violence against our brave law enforcement officials that we're no longer going to enforce the law. That's rewarding the very people who are engaged in this garbage. The actual reward that they just got is a new...
Alex, if it's a straw man, you can explain how it's a straw man, but you're not in the guest requests, so that's not surprising.
Attorney General who is going to prosecute and investigate this stuff even more aggressively than before. Yeah.
Thanks for taking my question. So the head of Minnesota's investigations agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation.
What does that mean? Like, genuinely, what does that mean? Are we like, no, excuse me, ma'am. I saw your license plate. I tracked you down. Your car was near an ICE operation once. What's going on there? Oh, I heard there was an ICE thing happening. I wanted to come record because I was worried something bad could happen. You're under arrest, I guess? Like, what?
Issue. That guy's protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually life miserable because Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing...
He was just following orders. It's the meme.
The idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity, I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out.
Absolute immunity? What? For murder? What? I know the answer to this is no, but remember, J.D. Vance is the guy with a law degree, not me, so maybe I've missed something. Do federal officials have absolute immunity against state-level murder charges? No, but maybe this is like an AI overview or something, right? Let's read the... In some examples outlined, ultimately stepped in to halt the state prosecution based on the supremacy clause. Okay, so this has to do with law enforcement, not murder. Yeah, looking like no. Immunity is not absolute. Bro. These people actually think that there's immunity against murder charges on a state level if you're a federal officer? What? Okay.
Judge.
The next Democrat knows what they have to do then. Peacefully and patriotically, I'm joking, in a video game. Peacefully and patriotically.
So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on is the real issue.
Like, can we just start using their own rules against them? Can we just fully embrace... Okay, we're doing the hypocrisy thing. Okay, those are hostages. We're peaceful and patriotic. You're going to jail. Fuck you. Like, you're gonna die. Like... Peacefully and patriotically, I'd never encourage violence. Like, actually, seriously, never break the law. I mean that. If you watch me, don't do that. Okay, it's bad. But
they're encouraging people. Minneapolis officials are encouraging people to commit violence against ICE officials. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop. Go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you.
And the Trump administration is encouraging ICE officials to commit violence against Americans. Do we get to, like...
You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation going on into that network.
Yep.
So if everything that you say is true, how does being part of that network justify being shot?
Took long enough. We're 11 minutes in. Finally, someone had a fucking spine in this room.
Well, being part of a network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot.
these people expect us to still believe the story that this ICE officer was like run over and rushed to the hospital, when at worst, maybe the left, like the mirror hit his like leg a little bit. At worst, if I'm being as charitable as possible, which I shouldn't be to these fucking liars and freaks, but if I was being as charitable as possible, maybe the left window like slightly bumped his leg when he chose to stand in the path of the car that was clearly turning right to avoid him. That justifies being shot? And just by the way, even if someone was driving at you head on, which is not what this was, let's say someone is driving at you head on, and you shoot them. I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a car expert, so someone here can tell me. I'd love someone in MAGA to tell me. If someone's driving a car at me, and I shoot and kill that person in the car, will the car now switch into park? Will the car stop moving? If anything, what we saw is the car speeds up, because if they're on the accelerator, and they're now dead, they're fully on the accelerator. So, if a car is speeding at you, the only really logical thing to do is try to get out of the way. I don't know what this man, he was like, I'll take you down with me at least, or something. Like, what even would be the argument there?
Not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question.
You know that moment when you have to defend yourself like perpendicularly, when like someone is not even looking at you and like there's nothing aimed at you, the car isn't aimed at you, there's no gun aimed at you, and you are like at a full 90-degree angle, you're seeing their left ear, you see the side of their head, and then you shoot them twice. Oh yeah, typical self-defense situation. Hold on. Again. If someone can explain why I have to keep restarting my audio capture and my screen capture, I will pay you. I'll pay you a handsome sum of $20 because this is getting fucking annoying. And it's almost like it happens more when I get triggered.
That's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason
Does it justify prison, though?
Is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car, and that guy acted in self-defense.
Hold on. That was an oddly specific thing. Being a part of the left-wing network doesn't justify being shot, but okay, can you guys start arresting peaceful protesters for no reason? Or like community organizers for no reason? With NSPM7? Can you investigate them? Can you arrest them, though? Even if you don't kill them?
That is why...
Oh my god, it froze again. What the fuck?
Lost her life, and that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault.
You gotta give him credit. He just answered my question, and it's a horrible answer. So couple years in prison for protesting peacefully. Okay.
Officers, what is, I'm sorry guys, what's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How?
He's talking like a substitute teacher when he's like 20 minutes into the class and no one's looked up from their phone. Guys, come on, guys, what's going on here? Everyone take out your notebook. He's such a fucking, like, these people talk about like beta males and alpha, like, is there a bigger beta on the planet than JD Vance?
What's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our law?
He's like an abusive partner, and the media is like a real victim here because they've fallen for it. The media has been gaslit into thinking that they're so unfair to MAGA, they're so unfair to Trump, and now they're always biting their tongue, they're always hedging what they say and going easier on MAGA because they're so afraid of seeming like they're biased that they end up becoming biased in the other direction.
You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Next question.
The investigation is still ongoing.
I said next question.
Mr. Vice President, I mean, you presumably watched the video yourself. There's not the slightest doubt in your mind, having viewed it, that the victim.
Oh, this is the non-American reporters are the only ones that ask tough questions anymore.
You still believe
that one bald guy earlier was also he asked a good question, but I feel like the British ones are the only ones that won't accept disrespect. Like, if Trump told a British journalist like "shut up, piggy," they'd call him like a wanker or something. Which I appreciate. I appreciate that. Please, like, does everyone remember the Jonathan Swan, right? Jonathan Swan interview with Trump during COVID. I always point back to that as like what the role of the media should be every single day right now. Contrast this. This is a great contrast, actually. Contrast what we just saw, what you guys all just witnessed, right? Contrast that with this interview.
Try and be
right. And I need to find a specific part.
We have tested more people than anybody ever thought of. India has 1.4 billion people. They've done 11 million tests. We've done 55. It'll be close to 60 million tests. And, you know, there are those that say, you can test too much. You do know that.
Who says that?
Oh, just read the manuals, read the books.
Manuals?
Read the
What
books.
manuals?
Read the books.
What books?
What test?
If everyone in American media had the same energy for Trump and Vance that Jonathan Swan had for Trump here, which Jonathan Swan was not unfair, he was just a critical interviewer. I have no issue with critically interviewing Democrats if you also critically interview Republicans, but when you're only critical about Joe Biden's cognitive decline, and then we talk about Trump falling asleep in office like once and that's it, then it's like, okay, what are you're carrying water for one side.
Wait a minute. John. Let me explain. What testing does, it shows cases. It shows where there may be cases. Other countries test. You know when they test? They test when somebody's sick. That's when they test. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong. Nobody's done it like we've done it. We've gotten absolutely no credit for it. But we've come up with so many different tests. The only thing that we have now is...
Also, it's so beautiful to watch how stressed Trump was during this interview. He was not happy. This was tough for him.
People have to wait longer than we'd like them to.
It's a big problem.
We want point to point. We want to have a 5-minute to a 15-minute test.
When do you think?
And like many others.
Every American.
What I understand, we're close to 50% where it's point.
Oh, there's another great one. What is the context of this part? Okay. Proportion. Okay. This to me is crazy. This here. Okay, and why is this again frozen? I'm actually gonna crash out if this happens again. If this happens again, I'm ending the live. I'm already gonna end it soon anyway, so I just gave myself a bit of an out there, but this shit is fucking annoying, bro. Okay.
And death is going up now.
Okay,
and it's 1,000 a day.
If you look at death.
Yeah, it's going up
let's look.
again.
Let's look.
Daily death.
Take a look at some of these charts.
I'd love to.
We're going to look.
Let's look.
And if you look at death.
Yeah. It's started to go up
Here's
again.
one. Well, right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories.
He does not know what he's reading right now. He has no clue what he's looking at.
We're lower than the world.
Lower than the
lower
world?
than
What is that?
Europe.
In what?
Look.
In what?
Take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really...
His look here is so cathartic to see. This here... Oh, you got called out on your bullshit. Fine. This may be my favorite moment ever in Trump's entire political career. This specific moment. First of all, he's like, what do you mean we're lowest in the world? And then he's like, why are you cherry picking this one metric that's not relevant to the problem? Substantive good pushback. Trump's like, wait, what? You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to ask me questions. Like, we haven't seen Trump make this face in how long?
That's where the US is really bad. Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
I need to rewind
That's
it.
where.
I need to rewind it.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad. Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
You can't do that. You have
Why
to go.
can't I do that?
How does anyone support this? Have Trump supporters seen this? How do you support this? This is embarrassing. This is a joke. This is pathetic. This is the best journalism that's ever been done. Specifically in the presence of Trump. No one's interviewed him like this. Terry Moran did a great job, but this was a masterclass. Where's Jonathan Swan, bro? Why wasn't he part of the New York Times interview of Trump? Oh my God. Oh, I need to watch it again. I'm sorry. This is just so good. Because it's so easy to debunk these people, bro. The people that hop on my TikTok live to debate, as dumb as they are, they're usually better able to defend what these people are doing than Trump himself can do. Trump, if you knock down like his first two superficial slogans, he does not know what to do, bro. He's stupid as fuck. At least JD Vance has like a verbal IQ, and JD Vance is like intelligent and good at Trump is just vibes. He doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad. Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
You can't do that. You have
Why
to go.
can't I do that?
You have to go by. You have to go by where. Look,
He doesn't even know the metric. He handed Jonathan Swan a graph that shows measurements of the United States according to some metric, and Jonathan Swan is saying, this metric isn't relevant to what I'm talking about, though. And then Trump tries to challenge that by saying, no, you can't do that. What you have to look at... He doesn't even know. Because there's no advisor there right now to tell him what to say.
The United States.
Dumb
You have
fuck.
to go by the cases. The cases.
Why
are
not
there.
as a proportion of
When we have
population?
somebody.
He doesn't even... You have to go by the cases. Yeah, he's also talking about the cases. Yeah. But like, the cases what? As a proportion of population. Death is a proportion of cases. Like, there's different ways to look. What is cases? Like, what is this?
What it says is when you have somebody that has where there's a case.
Oh, okay.
The people that live from those cases.
It's surely a relevant statistic to say if the US has X population and X percentage of death of that population
No,
versus
because you
South
have to
Korea.
go by the cases.
Well, look at
You dumb... He doesn't even understand. Like, this is how fucking stupid... And this is before the cognitive decline we've seen. Which is scary. Because he's gone now, bro. He's cooked. He's finished. There's nothing left in here. He doesn't even understand the concept in the abstract that multiple metrics can be relevant when you're measuring something. He doesn't even understand that concept. My cortisol is spiking. I need to plug in my laptop. It's about to die. So everyone just sit with that for a second, okay? Because this is fucking stupid. And yes, Jerome Powell correcting him was beautiful. I need to pull that up next.
Korea, for example, 51 million population, 300 deaths. It's like, it's crazy compared to...
know that.
I do. It's on
You
the...
don't know that.
You think they're faking their statistics? South Korea?
I
An
won't
advanced
get into
country?
that because they have a very good relationship with the country. But you don't know that. And they have spikes.
And see, when he's backed into a corner on the facts, he just starts saying, oh, the facts aren't even real, though.
Percentage of death of that population
No,
versus
because you
South
have to
Korea.
go by the cases.
Well, look at South Korea, for example. 51 million population, 300 deaths. It's like, it's crazy
you don't
compared
know
to...
that.
I do. It's
You
on the.
don't know
it's-
that.
You think they're faking their statistics? South Korea,
I
an
won't get
advanced
into
country.
that because
You have to believe that South Korea is faking their stats to win this argument from Trump's perspective. If you're dug in on the position that Trump is in and you're not willing to be reasonable, then yeah, that's his last resort. It's like, oh, this isn't even real anyways, it's fake.
a good relationship with the country, but you don't know that, and they have spikes. Look, here's
Germany.
one.
Notice how like elections and government stats and institutions only happen to be corrupt. Only happen to be correct when they align with what Trump wants them to say. But anytime they don't align with what he wants them to say, they just happen to be fake. It's funny how that works.
9,000?
Here's one right here, United States. You take the number of cases.
Okay.
Now look, we're last, meaning we're first.
Last, I don't know
We
what
have
we're
the
first
best.
in. As a what?
Take a look,
Okay.
again, it's
I just-
cases.
Okay.
And we have cases because of the testing.
1,000 Americans are dying a day, but I understand on cases it's different.
No, but you're not reporting it correctly, Jonathan.
I think I am, but...
If you take a look at this other chart, look, this is our testing, I believe. This is the testing, yeah.
Yeah, we do more tests.
No, wait a minute. Well, don't we get credit for that? And because we do more tests, we have more cases. In other words, we test more. We have. Now take a look. The top one, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. The top, Jonathan.
If hospital rates were going down and deaths were going down...
He can't even talk about simple line graphs. Like he describes them like he's... I don't even want to say middle school because I feel like you learn about basic... You learn the quadratic formula in middle school, right? At the end of middle school, at least. I don't know what the curriculum's like everywhere, but you learn shit like y equals mx plus b in like 5th grade. When the line goes up, it's a big line. That means it's a good line. Like, what?
Say terrific. You deserve to be praised for
Well, they
testing,
don't
but they're
even-
all going
you know,
up.
they very rarely talk-
60,000 Americans are in hospital.
If you watch the
1,000
news
dying
or
a
read
day.
the papers, they usually talk about new cases, new cases, new cases.
I'm talking about death.
Well, you look at
going
death.
up.
Death is way down from where it was.
It's 1,000 a
Death.
day. It was 2,500. It went down to 500. Now it's going up
Death,
again.
excuse me, where it was is much higher than where it is right now.
It went down and it went up again.
He doesn't understand trends either, that something can be at a peak and then come down, and then the trend line changes, starts trending upwards again. It might still be lower than its peak, but it's still trending upwards, and that means something's going wrong.
Now it's going down again. It's going
going up.
down in Arizona. It's going down in Florida.
Nationally,
it's going down.
Now
in
just juxtapose this with this fucking slop we just watched, although this British guy might be about to cook.
The investigation is still ongoing.
I said next question.
Mr. Vice President, I mean, you presumably watched the video yourself. There's not the slightest doubt in your mind, having viewed it, that the victim, you still believe that she deliberately tried to ram him despite seeing this video.
Look, I don't know what is in a person's heart or in a person's head, and obviously we're not going to get the chance to ask.
You just said that she was a fucking terrorist. Like 5 minutes ago. Not just that she's a terrorist, that she's part of some kind of intricate, elaborate, behind-the-scenes left-wing group that has, like, I guess, terror cells across the country, and she was one of their soldiers. And now, this guy asks you a basic-ass question. I guess you're intimidated by he's mogging you and he has a British accent. Listen, dude, I don't know what's in anyone's heart, except that they're a fucking terrorist, apparently, but I'm not even going to say that again. Like...
woman what was going on. What I am certain of is that she violated the law. What I am certain of is that that officer had every reason to think that he was under very serious threat for injury or in fact, his life. What I'm certain of is that she accelerated in a way where she ran into the guy. I don't know.
He literally put himself in her line. Again, everyone here has eyes, and they can watch the video from all angles. The most charitable case that you can make is that as she reverses like this to the left, and then she turns her wheels right to escape out to the right like this, and the officer is here, so he's trying to get away and drive away from the officer. The worst case scenario you can make for like the case that he's in the wrong, right? Or like the most charitable argument you can make for him is that he knew she was turning away. It's very clear from his perspective, that video he recorded, that she's trying to escape, but that she didn't turn sharply enough, and maybe the side view mirror on the left slightly bumped into him or like grazed his fucking shirt. That is the most charitable thing I can say. It's not a threat for your life. And he pulled the trigger when his entire body, his entire center of mass was on the left of the car. I don't get it, bro.
What was in her heart and what was in her head, but I know that she violated the law, and I know that officer was acting in self-defense. It raises an interesting point, though. Look, if people want to say that we should have a legitimate debate about, what was she really doing, right? Was she panicking?
Oh, and I agree. He shouldn't have been there. That's exactly the point. Is that, first of all, he put himself in that position, and even if he hadn't put himself in that position and he was already there, still the strongest argument you could make would not be a self-defense argument or anything like that.
When she drove into this officer, or was she actually trying to ram him? That's a reasonable conversation.
Huh?
What's not debate about, what was she really doing, right? Was she panicking when she drove into this officer, or was she actually trying to ram him? That's a reasonable conversation.
Didn't he just say that she's like for sure like a domestic terrorist? This is a dangerous person. This is a very dangerous person. He has like different faces. He just put on the moderate face. He tried to be reasonable for a second, optically, after 10 minutes ago contradicting 110% what he just said in calling her. This is a dangerous person who should never be president. If Democrats ever have the votes to impeach and convict Trump, don't do it unless you also have the votes to impeach and convict J.D. Vance and Mike. I don't even know who's next in line after Mike Johnson, but can you imagine President J.D. Vance and Vice President Mike Johnson? That's definitely way worse than what's going on right now. True, but Kamala would code switch, and that's apparently the end of the world, and this guy's fucking lying in the same speech and contradicting himself. And again, it's frozen.
Him, that's a reasonable conversation. What's not reasonable is for so many of you to plaster all over the media that this was an innocent woman and that the ICE agent committed murder, which is what many of you have said explicitly and some of you have said implicitly.
Didn't you just say in the previous sentence that it's legitimate to debate whether she was just an innocent woman trying to flee? What does this even mean?
What was she really doing, right? Was she panicking when she drove into this officer, or was she actually trying to ram him? That's a reasonable conversation. What's not reasonable is for so many of you to plaster all over the media that this was an innocent woman and that the ICE agent committed murder, which is what many of you have said explicitly and some of you have said implicitly. That's what I have an objection to. The idea.
Oh, now we're saying things implicitly. Donald Trump can say, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore, and that has nothing to do with January 6th. But now the media is saying things implicitly that are like criminal or like really dangerous for the country.
Was not justified is absurd, and I think everybody knows it in their heart. Yeah.
Mr. Vice President,
in the green jacket.
Taking down the temperature.
Well, sure, if Democrats sweep the House, Jeffries would be next in line in the way that Mike Johnson would be next in line after J.D. Vance. But then who's after the speaker? Like, who's after Jeffries or Johnson? Let's look it up. Let's do a quick. There we go. Oh no, we are cooked. Man, I guess unless Democrats take back the House and the Senate, right? Who is the Senate pro temp? What is that? Senate pro tempore is the second highest ranking U.S. senator presiding over the Senate in the vice president's absence, traditionally the most senior member of the party, and stands... Wait, why isn't that John Thune? Isn't John Thune the highest ranking? I don't... Current Senate pro tempore is... What am I getting wrong? What am I missing? Or is there a difference between the major? I guess there's a difference between the majority leader in the Senate and the Senate pro tempore. Is that what I'm confusing? Is the Senate pro tempore different from the Senate majority leader? Yes. Okay. Okay. So it's Chuck Grass. Okay. Chuck Grassley and John Thune. That makes sense. So hold on. Back to that then. So we're cooked either way, because even if Democrats take back the House, I think Democrats can take back the Senate. By the way, I think it's possible. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's more possible than people give it credit for. If we have a free and fair election, big if, massive if. If we have a free and fair election, I could be swayed as November draws closer. The Democrats can win back the Senate as well. Because that's the only chance we have, right? Because even if we take back the House and you remove Trump and Vance, can you imagine the world? What a bizarre world this would be, where President Hakeem Jeffries and Vice President Chuck Grassley. What a world would that be? Oh my God. I don't even know how that would work.
Like political violence is ratcheting up and riots could be around the corner. What steps does the administration have planned to try to unite America? Average people on both political sides are so tired of fighting with each other, and I think all the journalists in this room could agree with me that we don't want to be part of the problem. Do you have any word?
Who is this woman? What organization is she with? Can I don't know if this will work. Let's see if AI is the advancement people say it is. Or if I can... Does anyone know what news organization she's with? Because that was crazy. Let's see. Did I not do just her face? I guess like very narrow like this. GPT won't know. When it comes to like information, Gemini is way better than ChatGPT. I don't know who this is, bro. But it's a dumb fucking question. I already tried Google searching the face. It was showing me like green jackets. Like this isn't this. Oh wait, it's still frozen. Hold on. That's why. When you just Google search her, when you just Google search her, it just shows me a bunch of green clothing that looks like that. Do you just know? I hate her. I hate her. What is this? Sir, us in the media, we really don't want to make things worse. How are you guys going to save America?
Because the reporting over this has been one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen in media. I've never seen a case so...
I already searched without the green top, and it did. I guess I can try again. Okay. Yeah, it has no idea what that is.
This has been one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen in media. I've never seen a case so misrepresented and misreported when you have a guy who was defending himself and is now being treated as some sort of federal assassin by so many of the people in this room. First of all, let me say about crime. You mentioned violence. One of the things we're proudest about is that you saw violent crime over the last year drop by 20%. Why is that drop by 20%? Is it because we're attacking our law enforcement officers, or is it because we in the administration are empowering our law enforcement officers to enforce the law? I think that's one of the ways you take down the temperature, is you make people feel more secure and safe in their person and property. That's why we care so much about protecting our law enforcement, because it accrues to the benefit of the entire national community. I think that we can absolutely talk about the ways in which, we can lower the temperature by discussing differences in a reasonable and rational way. Again, I'm happy to talk with any congressional Democrat or any of you about our immigration policy, about why I think it's necessary, about why I think it's in the best interest of the country, about why the President of the United States was elected to actually enforce the border for the first time in at least 4 years. So here's the problem. That's not the debate so many people are having. They are actively covering for people who are committing acts of violence against federal law enforcement. It is preposterous. The way to take down the temperature is to stop it. Have your debates about policy. Attack me. Attack the President of the United States. Don't attack our law enforcement officers. They are trying to do the job the American people demanded that they do. They are not policy actors. They are enforcing the law. They should be treated with a modicum of dignity and respect. And the fact that they're not is why incidents like yesterday happened. The one final point I'll make about this is, look, there's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology. What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them. To get to that point, you have to be, I think, radicalized in a very, very sad way. I certainly wish that she hadn't got there. I know there's an ICE officer right now who very much wishes he was not put in a position.
We're done with this. We're done. I'm ending the live. Unless anyone wants to do a quick debate, we're done. This is so stupid. Let's see. No guest requests, I guess. Okay, this was a fun live. Subscribe and follow and like and yeah, bye.